Mr. Castro.
I've been knowing Mr. Castro for maybe over a decade and a half, almost maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I go back with that. He used to yell at me back in the days.
Are the fact-based reasons for height restrictions on native flowers and native grasses? How can city staff impartially judge whether plantings look intentional and maintained or not? There are fact-based reasons to grow pollinator-friendly plants and encourage them to spread. There are fact-based reasons to leave some of the leaves and save the dead stalks and seed heads of flowers. There are fact-based reasons to mow less often. When I was a kid, I was bullied and picked on because of my natural hair. Being told over and over by ordinance enforcement that our yard, our natural yard, looks terrible brings it all back. Please pass the pollinator plants resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Levine. Appreciate it.
I'm not seeing anyone with their hand up in the gallery. If council would like to move on, or if you prefer to wait for a few moments to see if anyone would raise their hand.
Wait a moment, please. But we would say to those that are in the audience or in the gallery, if you would like to say something during audience participation, would you please raise your hand at this time so that the clerk might call on you? Okay, we can go on, Clerk Kalinga. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a presentation titled International Association of Chiefs of Police One Mind Campaign. And Chief, did you see?
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. It's a pleasure tonight to talk to you about the One Mind campaign, which directly aligns with one of the city council goals for the police department for 2020-2021, which is actually the completion of the 4 requirements for certification under this program. In your package, you'll have the certificate and the letter from IACP that shows that we did that. Just in short, the One Mind campaign seeks to ensure successful interactions with police officers and persons affected with mental illness. The initiative focuses on uniting local communities, public safety organizations, and mental health organizations. And for us, that's Washtenaw County Community Mental Health. Excuse me. So that the 3 of those separate entities can be of one mind. And so law enforcement agencies are pledging to do 4 things within a 12 to 36 month period. And I'm pretty proud to say we did it in just over 13 months. The 4 things are: have a clearly defined sustainable partnership with community mental health, which we do have, and we actually have a formal memorandum of understanding with them, and we're working with them as they open their facility in our city, which is going to be a temporary holdover place where people who are having a crisis, who don't necessarily need to go to the hospital, but just need a cooling period, will be able to stay overnight there. We have also developed and had approved through IACP a model policy for response to mental health issues. Also, we've trained every officer in the department in first aid, mental health, and 20% of the department has been actually sent to the 40-hour training for crisis intervention. So we're much more apt to do the right thing at this point when it comes to taking our runs for mental health. We're still working towards the 21-22 goal of having basically a team between us and community mental health that will co-respond to these types of incidences. That's still in the works, but this is a major step in that direction so that we're on the same page. And just to give you an idea, There's only 11 departments in the state of Michigan that have even attempted this, and we're only one of 5 who's actually completed it. Nationwide, there's only 116 departments that have actually completed this program. So we're 1 in 116 across the country that's actually committed to doing this. So I just thought you should know that one of the goals that City Council has set up for the police department has been accomplished. And I'd take any questions if you had any.
Any questions for the chief? Councilmember Morgan.
Thanks, Chief, for that short presentation. There's a lot in there and still a lot to do. I would imagine that policing being a lifelong necessity for communities and mental health being a lifelong condition for humans in different communities. Are these, out of the 4 things in some of the training, are these long-term, durable, interim solutions? Or these are short-term solutions that could be potentially expanded as the program? Is it one mind campaign? Is it this campaign? Is it going to expand for longer term? You said it was succinct with our 2021 goals. So is this a short term? And I want to implore. First, I want to congratulate the Ypsilanti Police Department for being one of those 116 departments and looking forward when it comes to policing with mental health. But so I'm just asking that question. If you can give me a little synopsis.
Sure. So this, in our opinion, for us, and I don't know how other departments will look at it, for us, this is a stepping stone moving forward. We're always looking to try and provide better service. There you went. The screen just moved you. I just lost you for a second. So we're always looking to find better ways to provide service for our community. And obviously, with the shrinking budgets for mental health across the country, and especially in Michigan under the Engler administration, when they closed most of the state mental hospitals, that has kind of fallen to the police departments to try and take care of. So we were obviously behind the 8 ball a little bit on that, where this is one step in trying to catch up and providing a better service than what we had been in the past. I know that some people on council have heard of the Washtenaw County Diversion Council, of which I also sit on with Sheriff Clayton. And one of the things that we talk about is the number of people with diagnosed mental health issues that are actually locked up in jails because there's literally no other midterm solution for solving that particular instance. So jails are being used to warehouse people with mental health issues, and they're not getting the services they need. So we have a long way to go. Like I said, I think this is a good step forward for us. I'm anticipating probably others will do the same as what we're doing. And this is part of an evolution of trying to get better at doing this particular piece of our job.
Thank you. And the final question, you said you had a definable, sustainable piece of something with what body, with what agency?
We have a memorandum of understanding with community mental health.
Okay, is that like a protocol and procedure that determines what can happen in the event of certain situations?
It's more of a commitment to each other to work together to try and service these types of calls better. It does have some outlines of what responsibilities each agency will have, but it's more of a working document, if you will. It just shows that there's a commitment on paper from both agencies to work together and try and do better at this.
Are resources being added to that commitment?
I'm not sure on the police department's part.
I mean, even on the county, like, are they going to commit resources along with the actual commitment of what's to be done?
Right. So I think that they are in different ways. And again, a lot of this revolves around what the county budget's going to be for community mental health. And obviously the city nor the police department has any real control over that other than we can encourage them to try and spend some more money there. But they are opening that small center here right in the city, which would be very helpful for us, obviously. So they are committing some resources to doing these types of interactions.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no hands, I'm sorry. Councilmember Jones-Chance.
Yes, is there a plan to go beyond the 20% training for crisis intervention?
So actually, the 20% is the minimum threshold for the certification, and we've exceeded that already, and we have 3 more officers going in October. So we were closer to 35%.
That's great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, Chief, I would like to congratulate you and the department for this, I would call it a milestone in your being able to do something much faster than what was expected or the time projected for it to happen. Congratulations. And I do so look forward to the work to continue with Washington County Mental Health Department. And I know that they are working hard also to aid the police, because they don't want to see, they want to take care of our citizens also. So thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Okay, next item on the agenda, please.
The next item on the agenda is ordinances first reading. The first item would be the sewage disposal rates. I can read that into the record.
Would you please? Thank you.
Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that an ordinance to amend Chapter 106, Article 5, Section 106-454A of the Code of Ordinances, City of Ypsilanti to adjust sewage disposal rates approved on first reading.
Support.
Support.
How about so?
Wait, now somebody's got to make a motion. We can't have two supports.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. All right. Was that Council Member Mayor Pro Tem Brown? Was that you that supported? Okay, thank you. All right. It's been moved and moved by Council Member Morgan and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Brown. And the floor is open for, do we have an open session on this?
Mayor Jeff Castro and Dwayne Harrigan are here from Yucca. I don't know how you'd like to proceed, if you'd like to have them present.
Yes, I would, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
Yes,
Good evening.
On its regular meeting, August 26th, the YCWA Board of Commissioners approved a recommendation to the City Council for these rate adjustments. A water rate increase of 3% and a sewer rate increase of 3%. The 2 draft ordinances which accomplish these changes are before you tonight for your consideration. Also included is budget highlight document related to the September 1st, 2020-21 YCUA's fiscal year's budget. The combined effect of these rate adjustments would be a 3% increase on a city division bi-monthly customer's water and sewer bill. Information detailing these effects are included in your material. A city division average user of 10 units would see an increase of $3.60 on a bi-monthly water and sewer bill, or $1.80 a month. The Great Lakes Water Authority, where we receive our water from, has increased our rate 3%, which goes into effect October 1st, 2020. The Ypsilanti Township Board of Trustees have approved these adjustments on August 18th, 2020. In conclusion, YCUA asks for your consideration for these 2 adjustments effective October 15th, 2020. As a comparison on some of the utilities that we found out what their rates increased to, Ann Arbor's increased their rate 6.5%. Kalamazoo's rates increased 12%. Sterling Heights 5.2%. City of Birmingham 3.25%. These are some utilities that we could get a confirmed actual rate increase that I could just give you of some examples. With that, I'm asking for your consideration for approval of these rate adjustments.
Mr. Harrigan?
Yes.
Yes. Did you have anything to add to that?
Nope. And I'm here to answer any questions if there's any.
Okay. And I just want to welcome you 2 men here to the meeting and
Thank
to
you.
share with us. Okay. Did any council people have any questions? Councilmember Brian Jones Chance.
Yeah, so looking at this, it looks like the rates are going to be decreased for smaller properties. I'm assuming they're smaller properties since they have smaller service lines.
No, it's a 3% increase for everyone.
Okay, and so maybe that answers my next question. I might be looking at an old code book.
Could be.
Okay,
Yeah, you may be looking at something because we modified our rates and we eliminated the 6-unit minimum usage. So those who use less than 6 units just pay for each unit of water now, and before they were paying for 6 units, even if they use 2 or 3 units. So that has been taken care of. That may be what you're looking at.
it might be. I'm looking at, I think this is the rates from 2016 that are on the, okay, and so
Yep.
So
We
those are
updated
the,
our rates in 2018.
okay, so then the code book online may be wrong because these are also in 2 different sections. The one I see has sewage rates in section 106-455. So this is probably old.
That is correct.
Okay, so I guess I am actually not sure what the current rates are for the 5/8 to 3/4 size meters. And I don't know if anyone has those to hand, but I'm assuming it's just 3% lower than this.
Correct, 3% less than these numbers.
Okay,
3% less.
Well, a little bit, I'm trying to make it simple. It's a little bit different because 3% on last year would give you to this year's rates. You can't take 3% off these rates and go backwards, but I can figure out real quick going backwards. So like the current water rate is $5.61. And I believe last year it would be $5.45. That's for the commodity rate. I'm just giving you an idea of what they currently are before this. And on the sewer side, they would be $2.99 per unit.
Council members, do you not have the information detailing the effect on your packet?
I have that, but I don't have the previous year's rates. So I was using the Municode library, and it looks like that information is from 2016.
You're looking on the City of Ypsilanti's website.
Yes.
If you would go to our website, you should be able to look at our current rates also at ycua.org.
Right. In the packet that we sent had the current rate and the proposed rate for your materials.
That's all included in the packet.
Yep.
I can bring up the sewage disposal rates. I'll share my screen. This is
If you guys
was approved last year for sewage disposal rates.
right.
I'm sorry, water rate. Let me pull up the sewer.
No, I believe that is the sewer rate. I think that's a typo on the top of there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you look in the body, it does say sewage.
Right, it does.
And there's that $2.99 that I mentioned.
Yep. So that year it was $16.74 for a 5/8 by 3/4 meter. This year it's $17.24.
Okay, I think that clears that up for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from
If you
council?
all could see this document I have, I know it's hard to see, but this should have been included in your packet. And it has, this is last year's rates and the current proposed rates.
So I saw that in a previous version of this.
It's council, it's on page 16 of 100.
There you go.
These are the 2020 budget highlights. And
Yep.
lower, it's 17 of 100, I believe has the last year's.
In the top of the page, it says YCUA City Division.
Correct. So it's 17 of 100 in the packet.
So
So Andrew, are you able to share that screen on that so
Sure.
others can see it?
Perfect.
Thank you.
There you go. So where you see it says the current rate, which is the rate now, and our proposed rate is below that where it says proposed for October 15th.
Well, it actually looks like it goes up some cents. The current is 1903 and October 15th, it goes to 1961.
That is correct.
Okay.
So the average customer that uses currently 10 units of water, they pay $120.09. Under the proposed rates for the same bill, it would be $123.69, which should be that increase that I discussed of $3.60 on a bi-monthly water and sewer bill on an average user.
Okay. Any other comments from council, questions?
Well, I'm curious. I know you said Ann Arbor's went up. I think you said 7%, and someone else's went up 12%. What keeps Yucca able to provide water at cost?
Well, one thing about YCUA is we manage our finances very well. But most importantly, we have 16.25 million gallons of storage. So basically, when we're drawing from Detroit, when it's really super hot, when we're drawing from Detroit and it's really hot, we decrease the valve from Detroit and we pull from our storage to reduce the strain on Detroit, while everybody else without storage is pulling hard from Detroit. Then, when everybody's done using water and goes to bed, then we open our valves and we fill our storage right back to the top again. And then we do it all over again the next day when it's really hot. So we have 60.25 million gallons of storage that we utilize significantly during these peak flow times, which this June, July, and August has been one of our hottest months.
So thrifty water usage and management. That's a blessing to know that in this region that as powerful and as much of a crisis water is, that we have people who are responsible with our resources. Thank you, Mr. Castro.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harrigan.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, Kirk Kalinga, would you please call the roll?
Mayor, first is to do the public hearing.
Okay, I'm sorry, thank you. I will open the public hearing.
Currently, no one, none of the attendees currently have their hand raised.
If there's no one for public hearing, please call the roll.
Read the resolution to close the public hearing. Resolution number 2020-176, Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that a public hearing on an ordinance to amend Chapter 106, Article 5, Section 106.454A of the Code of Ordinances, City of Ypsilanti, to adjust sewage disposal rates be officially closed.
Do we have support for that?
Support, if somebody moved it. Thanks, Steve. Councilmember Wilcoxon moved it.
Moved it, yes.
Morgan seconded.
Okay. And then, Mayor, you like me to call the roll on the?
Please, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxon.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other question, any other discussion from council on the motion is on the ordinance itself? And if you would pardon me, council is scattered on my screen. So it takes me a bit to find where everyone is. So if there's I don't see any hand. Steve, Councilmember Wilcoxon.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I just took this to be, this is a routine thing. The supplier has already increased the cost. They're taking that into account, and 3% is pretty much cost of living increase at this point in time. And as you know, they were saying earlier, they were pretty frugal about how we charge our water. I've also had conversations with Mr. Castro about water shutoffs, and he has a very responsible approach to that in terms of working with customers. So if that poses a problem for anyone, I assume that program and that policy will still be in order. When I talked to him before, that no occupied house had a shutoff order at the time. That was 2 months ago, and I thought it was very good that he works with folks in the community to avoid that situation. So be clear with that.
Yeah, that is correct. All water shutoffs have halted until further notice.
Thank you. I have a question for you too. I've had calls from residents, and one lady, she called me, and she is actually not a city resident. She's a resident of the township. However, she called me regarding the problem, and happened to be visiting with a family member, and she had the same situation. They are getting, their last water bills were extremely accelerated over what their bills had been. And it's something about faulty meters. Now, were the meters in the city changed, or were the meters in the township only changed?
So what happened, I know which two accounts you're talking about. And what happened with these two accounts is, so everybody understands, you have a master meter in your basement or in your house that registers the flow continuously. From that master meter, there's a wire that's a 1/4 inch thick that runs from that meter to the outside, that's connected to an outside reader that we read remotely through satellite or through the internet. On these two accounts, the outside reader malfunctioned, not the master meter inside the house. So when the outside reader malfunctioned, we couldn't get a read on the meter. So for that particular month, we sent them a bill with 0 consumption. Once we sent them a letter, got in the house, got a read on the master meter, on the following bill, we did a catch up. So they got charged for the previous 2 months of what they really used, but we didn't charge them. And then they got their current charge for the current 2 months. So it appeared they got a double bill, but it was just a 4-month bill is what it was. And then we fixed the outside reader. So sometimes these outside readers do malfunction, whether it gets knocked off the wall or sometimes it gets bit up by mice or a dog. And that's one of the issues that all utilities have with outside readers is sometimes they malfunction. The master meter in the house does not malfunction. Those will either slow down or stop. And so when we finally send a letter out, we get in the house, we get a new read, an updated read, then we back bill them for what they used the prior 2 months that we didn't bill them for.
Okay. So have you had any of those situations in the city recently or lately?
Yes, yeah, we had one in the city and one in the township.
Okay. Besides these other two that were actually in the township, both of them.
Yes, we did. We had, to be totally transparent, we received a batch of insufficient outside readers from the manufacturer that we installed on customers. And then the manufacturer called us and told us that the batch of outside readers that we purchased were malfunctioning. So we've been doing our diligence to contact these customers, trace the ID numbers, and replace those outside readers.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from council? All right. Seeing none, Mr. Halinga, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next,
Yeah, the next item on the agenda is Resolution 2020-177. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that an ordinance to amend Chapter 106, Article 5, Section 106454B of the Code of Ordinance to increase water rates within the City of Ypsilanti be approved on first reading.
So moved. Support.
it's been moved and supported.
Does council have any questions currently, or should we open the public hearing?
Is there a presentation on this? on the
That-
water? Or
Both
is
those
it
were
just
together.
water?
I gave the presentation for the water and the sewer together.
Very good. I heard that, but I didn't know if you had something else you wanted to add. Yeah, so, okay. Councilmember Wilcoxen.
I did have one question. I was having a hard time finding this in the software version of the agenda, but I just found it. There's a under the overall summary in the supplemental documents. There's an increase for a temporary shutdown of the incinerator, and I wonder if Mr. Castor could speak to that.
Yes, our incinerator has been shut down, and we are truck loading our biosolids right now. We are replacing our primary heat exchanger, which is a primary device that facilitates the burning of the sludge. It's exceeded its lifetime, and it's a very expensive part of the incinerator. Currently, right now, the incinerator roof has been removed, and the primary heat exchanger is being installed. The primary heat exchanger is about 3 stories tall. It's a very large device. So that's what's happening with the incinerator right now. It's down for probably another 4 months, maybe 5 months, while this primary heat exchanger is being installed.
So that involves trucking to another incinerator, and where does that go?
That the biosolids goes to a landfill.
There's also an additional cost because we're landfilling it. We add chemicals, lime, to that product, which increases the cost to the truck the waste.
So that's cost of $290,000 is the cost for trucking and liming and the tipping fees at the landfill.
Correct. It's all operating costs that we're gonna have to incur by having it shut down, like you just
So-
said.
The entire cost of the incinerator is around $4 million.
Well, what's the recovery rate on that cost in terms of years? How long will it take to pay for itself in those terms?
Jeff can answer, but what you're looking for is if we didn't have an incinerator, what would our costs be to truckload or do other means besides incinerating the waste?
Right.
I believe it's 4 or 5 years because it's very expensive. That's why YCWA 10 years ago, 15 years ago, chose that incinerator. It's a highly efficient way of disposing the waste. Jeff can add more to it. He has more of a
When that
science.
incinerator was installed, it was the most efficient incinerator in the United States. We were the first one to have such a classic incinerator. But as any device, parts need to be replaced. But as far as other means, there's only 3 means of disposal of waste. It's incineration, landfill, or farmland application. We choose to continue to incinerate. It's the cleanest, it's the best. If we were to landfill consistently or farm waste, the rates would increase significantly.
Any
Okay, thank
other
you.
questions or comments? Are you done, Council Members Wilcoxon?
Yeah, I said thank you. Thanks.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I just got one last comment. If any city council member would ever want to tour our wastewater treatment plant, just give me a call. I'm more than welcome to give you a tour. We have a lot of construction going on right now, but the door is always open for any of you, please.
I'll take you up on that.
Thank
Need a
you.
mask. I think I'll need a mask, but I'm all for it.
I've done it before, but I'll also take you up. I'm sure there've been changes, so.
Yeah.
It's an
been 25
interesting
years,
tour
so.
for those of you that haven't been. All right, if there are no more questions or comments, could we have the call for the open hearing?
Council, I'm not currently seeing anyone in the attendee list with their hand up. If you'd like to wait a little while prior to closing.
If there's anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment or have a question, please raise your hand. If not, we're going to go on.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, could you hold it just a minute to see? No hands came up?
No, ma'am, no
okay.
hands.
All right, so let's, you have a question before we close the hearing, open hearing?
Yes. I just wanted,
Okay.
this question is for Mr. Castro. Since we are trucking our waste, our solid waste to other places, can people and have people truck their waste to our incinerator?
No, they haven't, and they've asked. Currently, there's before our incinerator went down for repairs, we did have 1 or 2 wastewater utilities contact us to bring the sludge for us to burn because of their PFAS levels. PFAS levels are very important to YCUA. If we have anybody's sludge mixed with ours with high PFAS levels, then that means our PFAS levels go up, and then we'd have to report that to the state. And we have very clean sludge, and we want to keep it that way.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that, Mr. Castro. Okay, Clerk Alinga, would you would you close the public hearing, please?
Resolution number 2020-178, resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that a public hearing on an ordinance to amend Chapter 106, Article 5, Section 106454B of the Code of Ordinances to increase water rates within the city of Ypsilanti be officially closed.
I'll move.
There's support. Okay, support from Councilwoman Simmons. Okay. So it's been moved in second to close the public hearing. Any comment on that? Not, please call the roll.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, is there any other further discussion? If not, we'll take a vote on the original ordinance. Okay. Clerk Kalinga, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a thank you to Mr. Harrigan and to Mr. Castro, thank you for coming and presenting to us and helping us to understand the whole rates, hikes and rates
No
reduction
problem.
and all. Help us to understand it a little bit better. We thank you for it. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you. And I would just like to say, if any council member ever has any questions about water consumption, water usage, issues with residential customers or commercial customers, please send me email.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a great night, Mr. Castro.
Thank you.
You too, Harrigan.
Thank you.
All right. Clerk Kalinga, next item.
The next item on the agenda is resolution number 2020-179, approving the minutes of August 11th and August 18th. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti that the minutes of August 11th and August 18th, 2020 be approved.
So move.
Support.
Support.
It's been moved and second supported. Any comments, questions? Now, please call the roll.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is resolution number 2020-180, approving ordinance 1363, an ordinance to amend chapter 122, section 122-451. The Council of the City of Ypsilanti, whereas the city has an interest in protecting the economic diversity and image of the community, and whereas the city has an interest in promoting and supporting local businesses and their growth, and whereas the Planning Commission has recommended the City Council adopt the proposed ordinance change, now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council that the ordinance titled Medical Marijuana Provisioning Centers and Recreational Marijuana Retailers in Neighborhood Corridor be approved on second and final reading.
Support.
Second.
It's been supported and second. So the floor is open for discussion. Questions? Councilmember Brian Jones Chance.
Yeah, it looked like based on the memo that Attorney Barr sent, that the requested amendment for a buffer zone around subsidized housing had to be removed. Is that correct? And has it been?
Councilmember Barr. I'm sorry, Attorney Barr.
Good evening, Council. I don't know that it has to be removed, but my instructions at the last meeting were to investigate two questions. One was, did I think that the city finances were at risk with the marijuana ordinance? And my answer was no. I note that I had indicated that 30-some states have marijuana legalization. I think it's up to now 40-some. But the other question was, is it possible to have this type of ordinance? And I think it's possible, but it's quite difficult with subsidized housing.
Mr. Barr, you said something after that we couldn't hear.
I don't believe that it's necessary to remove the amendment, although it's questionable because amendments have to be fair to all of the different classes of property. There has to be a reason for the classification.
Okay. I think we also, if I remember correctly, we talked about sending this back to the Planning Commission for them to look at and for them to make a decision to send it back on the subsidized housing. Is that so? Mr. Barr, was that was discussed?
That amendment didn't pass.
I don't remember that part of it, but that certainly would be appropriate if council decided to do that.
That amendment was voted down in the last meeting.
The amendment to send it back to Somerville.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut off Mayor Pro Tem Brown. I was just wanted to raise my hand and be in the queue. Yeah, sorry. From my understanding, that amendment failed, and this was just a follow-up to answer the question on if it was legal. But Mr. Barr's memo also indicates that that's discriminatory zoning, because that would be basing zoning on like income levels. So I mean, if someone wants to make a motion and try to make that amendment again, I think they would have to, because that got voted down at the last meeting.
I remember that getting voted down, but I remember that it seems that there was some discussion about the ordinance going back to the Planning Commission and having them look at it rather than council trying to make that decision. So.
Is that reflected in the minutes?
That is not in the minutes. The only votes that council took on this were to add a 500-foot buffer around subsidized housing. That was defeated. And that was it. Other than that, it was to close the public hearing and the vote to approve it on first reading.
Okay, thank you. All right. Is there any more comments or questions?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yes.
My hand's up. I just wanted to let you know, since sometimes you can't see all the faces.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add, I mean, I thought about that a lot after the last meeting, and Mr. Barr reflected that in his memo, but it would seem incredibly discriminatory. And I would imagine that the Planning Commission would like immediately come up with that conclusion as well. Basing like buffer zones around, subsidized housing. That's all. I just wanted to reiterate that.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
I think Mr. Morgan was first.
Oh, was he? Okay.
I mean,
I didn't see
swear,
you.
I'm all about the economic diversity and local businesses thriving and things. If we're talking about increasing more spots for where recreation and medical can be, it's just, I don't know. I just don't see. I see how revenue is being brought in around the country. You talk to arbitrary numbers, and I'm sure it could help our roads and help our schools. I just don't see. I see more marijuana everywhere. I just don't see how it's beneficial. I don't, regardless of the buffers, regardless of where it's located. Just like these liquor stores, not one is closed and so it must be beneficial. Clearly, it must be essential. They haven't closed down since COVID, so that don't make them good. So I won't be voting for this. I don't care what the buffer. There's no way that since I've been on council, have I seen how marijuana, and I know it helps people with ailments and I know it does this thing and I know people need it. I just haven't seen how monetarily it helps or how socially it helps. So I'll be voting against this regardless of the buffer.
Any other comments? Councilmember Jones Chance.
Yeah, initially my concern was regarding subsidized housing and Section 8 in particular, is that the inspections for those properties are very subjective, and they depend almost entirely, save for a few things, on the inspector. And one of those things is general neighborhood condition. And I was just curious about, fearful about what this might do to the availability of that housing. Since then, I have been asked the question, why does this stuff always have to be near us? And that sort of raised a new concern for me. I understand the economics of it, and I think that might not be a bad thing. And looking at particularly the Harriet Street corridor, I can see where there's Perry School and there's the Park Ridge Center. So maybe that buffer is not a huge deal, and that might exclude that area. That is of particular concern to some people. So I can probably support it as it is with the buffers that are currently in place, but it's not a wholehearted support.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown, did you have a comment?
No, actually, I don't.
Okay. I have a question. Yes, Councilmember Wilcoxon.
I just wanted to point out that this is a change to the ordinance to have this be a special use. And so anybody wanting to pursue this would have to go back to the Planning Commission and present an argument for why they would locate here. And at that time, residents would have input. This happened on Washtenaw with the Sticky Ipsy thing. And my neighbors turned out and made good cases against it. In which case, there were contingencies put in place that the business didn't meet. So this is not saying they can go anywhere. It just means that they can go to the Planning Commission and petition for special uses.
Any
That's it.
Jones Chance?
Yeah, and I see Mr. Wilcoxon's point, but there are folks who don't have as easy of a time countering, with the Planning Commission and having their voices heard, or who can make it out at 7 o'clock at night, or for a lot of reasons aren't as involved in the process. And I have to think about them as well. And I understand this is a special use, and so I'm less concerned about it, and it's mostly because of the Section 8 bit. But there are folks who can't rally their neighbors to come out to a Planning Commission meeting and have a special use struck down.
Any other questions or comments? I'd like to, seeing that, I'd like to just piggyback on what Councilmember Jones Chance has said. And in listening to my constituents and the residents that that live around me, and the residents particularly in Ward 1. And it's interesting, and I don't know if any of the others of you have ever really thought about it, but all of the public housing in the city of Ypsilanti is in Ward 1. And most of it is in Ward 1, Precinct 1. So I hear a lot from people in the community, and what Councilmember Jones Chance said, that many of the people here are not able. Some of them are not able, some of them just won't rather gather themselves to go to a planning commission meeting. I have a question for, I guess, I don't know if it goes to the city manager or to the finance person, to Mr. I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied, to Reagan. How much money has come into the city since we have legalized marijuana? And I'm not just talking about the recreation, I'm talking about, let's go back and look at how much money has come in from the medical marijuana centers that we have here in the city.
So the only money that we collect is from the application fees. That's what we know off the top for sure. The other funds will be associated with permits for building to get to a specific code level, especially those that are medical / recreational that have to meet 2 different requirements. But basically from allowing medical marijuana and recreational, it's just the application fee.
Okay.
That's per year, right?
Yes, per year.
So there's been no tax increase?
No, we're not able to place a tax on that.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
With that specific answer, we only get money from applications. What's the average applications we get annually?
So we only accept applications most of the time when we have an opening. And you know we have a cap. So if you look at what we have as a cap, which is 7, and now we have 3, then you can do the math, it's 10. And I think the application fee is 5,000. Am I right, Andrew? So you can probably figure it out just from what our cap is.
Okay.
And then if they have 2 permits, if they have a rec and medical, that's 5,000 per permit.
Correct.
And where does that money go? To us directly, but what can it be spent on?
So Reagan, you'd have to answer. I think it goes into our general fund.
Okay. Reagan, before you go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, it goes to the general fund. It's under the clerk's office, but we can use it for anything. But Andrew, I think there was in one of the resolutions before, we had that
Yes,
the allocation.
Yeah, there is an allocation of for recreational, $1,000 is to be used. That $1,000 is to go back into education. I can't remember the specific thing, or perhaps it goes in the housing trust.
Part of the social equity program.
Well,
yeah, it's to lobby for people to get.
Can we have one at a time? Okay, Andrew, could you finish what you were saying? And then I'll come back to
$1,000 from each recreational application is diverted into another account to be used on a specific
That's right.
community.
So in my meager solo opinion, it doesn't bring in a lot of money. It's clear since the recreational and medical for all the drama that it causes, for the moral and social angst that it causes, for a lot of the conversations, and I don't think the return is nearly as great as the cultural and community investment that we're putting in. So in my opinion, we don't get and we know how much a lot of these businesses make, and we can't say a lot of these, and some of them don't even these owners are not from IPSI, and I can't say if the workers from the establishments are from IPSI, but I know some of them are. But with those things being said, it doesn't, for us to have these provisions and for them to sell so much all day, every day, it's almost, we're getting like 2 or 3%, if that. And so I don't think that's a good return to be a weed city. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Somerville.
Oh, sorry. I saw the city manager had her hand up. That's fine.
Thank you. I believe we did have this conversation before, and so we took these ideas or these concerns to heart. And when we developed the application and the scoring sheet, we did it asking them about their contributions to the city and the different things that they were willing to do to contribute to the city overall. Because we knew that we weren't receiving anything per se financially. If Joe is on Joe, would you please chime in so that you can tell them some of the specific things that we added this time because of the concerns that were expressed by council? We added it to the application with that scoring rubric.
Yeah. Just like the city manager said, we added a lot of these concerns to make sure the new facilities really hold true. And so we've issued 2 new permits, and we'll be having another round as well. And so really, from local hiring to local ownership to improving the property values of the building, to all of those things, we really wanted to make sure, and it's very comprehensive. And then we're going to amend the application to make it a little more clear. We learned a lot from the last round, but as far as it goes, city manager covered pretty much everything, where we really wanted to make sure that these places were as local as possible.
So we are trying to get a little bit more out of them because we couldn't stop them. It's here. So we did want to make sure that they were beneficial to our city in other ways besides, just the application fee. So that's how we kind of score them as well.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, because I don't want to hear that same story about it brings community money. It does this. That's a misnomer, and it's not true. It brings some money, but I don't think for the drama that it causes, it brings enough, especially for all those who champion it.
So, anyone else? So what I've heard is it brings approximately 50,000 a year as the applications. It's a yearly application, you say, or the one-time application?
Annually.
Annually, and the applications are 5,000.
And it's 10,000 if you have both.
If you have both, okay. So if we say we have 7 that have both, that's 70,000, correct? Or I see a head shake.
Mayor, I have the numbers that we collected here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so for 1920, we did collect 50,000 for medical and 55,000 for recreation.
Okay. So approximately 105,000 for 19. Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions or discussion? I'm going to vote a very reluctant yes on this. Like I said, my constituents and the residents that are around me and that I interact with, they have some real misgivings about this entire thing. And if I understand the neighborhood corridor correctly, that means that it's not going directly into the neighborhood, but it's going into, I think, city manager, you gave me the example that of the place on the former beauty shop there on Michigan Avenue near the Dairy Queen, that would be in a neighborhood corridor. Is that correct? You're muted.
Yes.
Okay. So give me another example, someone please, of a neighborhood corridor. Joe?
And did
Okay,
you have
Linda.
another one? I know the one in Washtenaw was one, right? That abutted up to.
Yeah, the one that Sticky
Right.
Ipsy was going to go to.
Right.
That on Washtenaw, where?
It was the
In
dentist
Cortland.
office
It goes
previously.
between Washtenaw and Whittier, and it's one lot off of Cortland.
So it's actually back in the neighborhood, or is it actually
No,
on?
no, the
was on
frontage is
Washtenaw.
on Washtenaw, but the building is set back so far that the back entryway is on Whittier, and there's a couple of
Okay.
apartments in the back of that building, so they use that entrance for the apartments. But the business was all fronted on Washtenaw,
All right.
and
So
that was very close to the limit of the buffer zone from Estabrook School, and it was just outside of that buffer.
okay. All right.
But there's a map in our packet with the neighborhood corridors identified in yellow. So there's the ones by the Dairy Queen that you're talking about, and all of that north on Park Street, and then east or west towards the river.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
there's the part on Michigan Avenue west of the split with Congress.
Okay, one of the concerns that I keep hearing is that it does not actually go into the neighborhoods, and
Right.
people are concerned about that. So, okay.
They're on the, oh, sorry, Lois. Mayor, I'm looking at this with the school buffers and the existing facilities, and a lot of the ones in the neighborhood corridor in Ward 1, many of them have school buffers and current existing facilities. There's only a few, like there's pieces where it would be like, there could potentially be a facility, but they're on the edge of like the neighborhoods. They're not actually on like inside the neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you.
I could be, I mean, did I explain that right, Andy? I feel like that's how it looks to me.
Yeah, you're correct. It looks
Yeah.
like neighborhood corridor is they're not really on any private or
Yep.
residential streets. They're on corridors that contain traffic. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any consistency with street designations, but I mean Michigan, Washtenaw, parts of I believe Forest and Huron, Harriet and Spring, parts of North Huron River Drive, and Ecorse and Emmerich area for the
Okay.
most part.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So I have a question for Andy.
Councilmember Wilcox.
The business that moved to have this initiated, where are they proposing to go?
The site that the former hair salon, the Aveda old property on
Michigan Avenue.
Very
Right.
clean.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's next to the gas station, in between the gas station and Dairy Queen.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right, if there's no more questions or comments, Mr. Halenga, would you call the vote, please?
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
No.
Councilmember Simmons?
Yes.
Motion carries with 6 yes, 1 no.
Okay, thank you. And moving right along. Thank you. Just need to get one more council person here and I'll have all of you on my same screen at once.
I wish there
Chief
was a
Hobbs right
feature
here,
to
this,
pick
That
how
would
it
be so
looks.
nice.
You got
It would
Chief
be
Hobbs
so-
in the top spot. We might have to, like the Brady Bunch, gotta move him to the left.
To the left, okay. All right, next item, Clerk Kalinga.
The next item on the agenda is resolution number 2020-181 for approving the replacement of Department of Public Services vehicle lift. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti, whereas the vehicle lifts in the Department of Public Services garage are in need of repair, and whereas the relocation and addition of a vehicle list will increase capacity and promote employee safety, and whereas the city has solicited a quote for the proposed work from Allied Incorporated, who is a rotary lift dealer, whereas Rotary Lift has a contract with Sourcewell, which is a national cooperative purchasing program for governmental organizations with whom the City of Ypsilanti is a member. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Ypsilanti approves the expenditure of $85,204.82 with Rotary Lift Allied Incorporated for the purchase, repair, and installation of vehicle lists in the Department of Public Services garage, with any change orders to be subject to the review and approval of the city manager.
Support, so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Morgan and Wilcoxon. Okay, Mr. Akers, are you here to give us some information on this?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
So this proposal is to purchase and install one new vehicle lift in our DPS garage, repair our existing large vehicle lift, and to relocate an existing vehicle lift to a different area into our garage. The existing lift, which is in need of repairs, is the lift that we use for some of our larger vehicles, such as our salt and recycling trucks. The repair is intended to make our lift safe for use and allow us to continue to perform repairs on these trucks in-house. This will, if it's repaired, reduce our need to send some of these vehicles out for service. There are, with this large vehicle lift, there are poles that come up out of the ground. They lift the large vehicles. Because they're actually in the ground in our garage area, over the years, salt has gotten in there. And some of these vehicles have cleaned and come in and has eroded one of the posts and actually caused it to bend a little bit. So part of the scope of that is we wanted to make sure that that's repaired so we can use that lift to make sure that we're not sending too many of our large vehicles out for service. The other portion of the project is the relocation of the existing vehicle lift and the installation of a new vehicle lift is intended to expand our capacity to work on multiple vehicles at one time and provide for a necessary reorganization of our garage area. We're actually proposing on installing both of these lifts in a larger bay area in our garage. And it's going to be a safer environment as our staff will have more room to move around and it won't be as tight of an area. Currently, we have an existing vehicle lift in one of our smaller garage bays. We've had some difficulty with some of our employees trying to get around there just because the fit has been a little tight. Under this proposal, we're proposing to relocate it to a larger area where our employees will have a lot more room to move around. As a result, we're also, in this current area, we have a lot of welding equipment. And that welding equipment will be relocated to the other garage that we're moving the lift from, which actually is a safer area to do the welding just because of the prior use of the building. So the DPW yard, the current building that we have a lot of equipment in, the welding equipment in, used to be for cold storage. So there's some coal dust, and there's some concerns about us doing some of the welding work there. The budgeted amount for this project was $115,000. And the cost of the lifts, repairs, and installation, as you can see in the packet, was quoted at $85,204. which is approximately $30,000 under the budget. The scope of the proposal does not include the electrical connections for the lifts, but when compared to the cost of lift installation, it should be relatively minor. We're proposing to purchase these lifts and repair services under a Sourcewell contract. Sourcewell is a national purchasing coalition that the city is a member of, very similar to my deal, except it has a national scope. They use essentially the purchasing power of thousands of local government organizations to procure competitive pricing for several different services, including these vehicle lifts. This procurement process does include competitive bids through an RFP process, and due to this, it does comply with our city's purchasing policy. Should this proposal be approved, staff will work with Allied Lift, who is the installer, to schedule a time to get the work completed prior to winter. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Jones Chance, thank you for that very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Akers, I'd like to know what's the expected service life of the new lift?
I believe the service lives of the new lifts are 15 years. I can follow up on that, but I believe when I had a conversation with our mechanics, they were 15 years before they needed substantial maintenance.
But not replacement.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Morgan.
Mr. Akers, a question. Will it cost to relocate the extra lift that we may use or may not use in the other garage? Is there a cost to relocating that?
Yeah, so that cost of that is actually listed in the $85,000 proposal.
So that's all the negative. And so
yeah, the lifts are actually movable lifts. So they're not. Our larger lift is currently built into the ground, and it's a built-in lift. But the other lifts, the rotary lifts, are actually movable. So they anchor into the concrete. They have electrical connections, but in theory, you could remove the anchors and rehook them up in other areas of the garage. So actually, what we're planning on doing is this bay area that we're moving it to has room for two lifts side by side. Our Department of Public Services, we service, I don't know the specific number of vehicles we have in our department. It's somewhere between 20 and 30. But we also service all of the police department vehicles too. So, there's a fair amount of work that goes through our department, and being able to have kind of two lifts, being able to work simultaneously helps us get some of that maintenance work completed faster.
So are we repairing one and we already have another one?
Yeah, so there's actually, yes. So under the proposal, we're repairing one lift, which is a larger lift. It's used for some of our large trucks. There's an existing lift that we have in our bay, which is used for vehicles up to a 1-ton vehicle. So we use it for all of our cop cars. We use it for our pickup trucks. We can even use it for some of our stake trucks.
What would you say the life of that vehicle is left of that lift?
I don't have that. I don't know that off the top of my head. I know
how old is it?
I believe it's less than 10 years old, but I'll have to verify that.
Okay. And if we were in this, do they sell broken or half-used lifts if we wanted to like keep one and have one functioning and just get rid of the other one? Could we sell it?
That I don't know. I apologize. I'll have to follow up on that one. I'm not sure because I know the lifts have to be installed by a certified installer. I'm not sure, and we can sell them.
Okay, so we got one probably with half the life left of it, and we're getting the one repaired, which would perhaps have a 15-year life expectancy when it's completed. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Wilcoxon,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, council.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for all
Rod.
you do. Appreciate it.
Council, the next item on the agenda is resolution number 2020-182, approving the contract with Game Time Sinclair Recreation for the Park Ridge Playground installation. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti, whereas the City of Ypsilanti has engaged residents and stakeholders extensively over the last 18 months to determine the best use of CDBG funding. And whereas the old and inaccessible playground equipment was identified for replacement during this engagement process, and newer upgrades have been selected by community voting. And whereas the total funding amount for the project is $199,850.64 of CDBG funds. And now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approves the contract provided with Game Time Sinclair Recreation for the playground replacement at Park Ridge Park, with any change orders to be approved by the city manager.
That's a move.
Support. Oh.
Been moved and supported. Was that Councilmember Wilcoxon that moved it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And supported by Councilmember Somerville. Okay, open for
I think
discussion.
Nicole, I think we said it at the same time. She can have it.
Totally fine, but thank you.
Just so it's supported. That's the important thing. Okay, any discussions or questions? Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
No questions, just comments that I'm just really, again, excited about this. This playground, the rendering is like so sweet. And just excited to get this work done. So thank you everyone.
Thank you. Councilmember Somerville.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm excited. There's a lot of really cool features to this. Also, the tire swing is a very cool element. You don't see those anymore, really.
Yes.
The only thing this is missing is a saucer, the things that you climb up in and sit in. Nobody knows what I'm talking about ever, but Nicole does. So those are my favorite.
Those saucers are dangerous, just for the record.
What?
They're dangerous. Those saucers that you fly in without proper seating.
You don't fly in them. You climb up them, and then there's like you just like sit in there and hang out.
Like a little. It's like a
No.
Oh, okay, I'm old. What I'm saying. Okay.
They're like old. They're old school like playground equipment from like the 80s.
Oh,
Probably.
that's way before my time. Sorry.
Like, because the park that was across the street from my house growing up had one, and it was older equipment. So.
I just want to speak on this design. There are bike racks somewhere else in the park. So like somebody wanted to bring that's a nice design, you know, I guess like bringing up, there are bike racks in Park Ridge, newer bike racks that were put up, right? So there's no bike racks in the design to be pulled up and just throw your bike in the middle of that wonderful place. What kind of, you know, but I think it's an amazing design. I can't wait to see the young people's faces at Park Ridge who get a chance to, you know, to hop on it, even though it's opening in November. We'll still see if they can get some of this end of the year play on it. Congratulations for those who made this happen.
Anything else? Council members Wilcoxon.
I just have a question. I'm glad that this is coming. There seems to be a difference in procedure for this than the candy cane one, and we're talking about moving the one from candy cane, and I'm not sure if that's new equipment. I thought it was new equipment, but there seems to be a difference in these two processes, and I wonder if the city manager could speak to that.
I'm sorry. I believe that Jada is supposed to make a presentation on this, so she can cover this in her presentation.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
waiting
Jada.
for comments. I apologize.
Welcome, Jada.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening.
Just to introduce myself to those of you who may not know me, I'm Jada Tilson Love, and I'm the Community Development Fellow with the City of Ypsilanti. And to answer one question, Councilman Morgan, yes, bike racks are on site. And to the process, I would direct that to Christopher because I'm sure he can explain that better than me. But I just wanted to note the extensive amount of community engagement and input that went into this project. Just as Councilwoman Somerville was mentioning the tire swing, that's something that, you know, the community had input on, those elements that they wanted to see that, you know, weren't already included in the model that was chosen. But that's something that they pointed out that they really wanted to see, you know, the children who came and voted and other community members who were there voting. So there was it's largely driven by the community and their input from choosing from 8 models down to 3 for the final voting. And again, all the additional elements that are included now. And I didn't know if Christopher was on, if he wanted to speak to the process.
Christopher is on. Christopher.
Good evening, Council. Yeah, the process here looks a little bit different because it utilizes community development block grant dollars. And the site change at Candy Cane Park was identified by the constituents there. The placement of the playground isn't very ideal without walking paths leading directly back to that area. And the rear entrance to that park isn't well identified. And so the location of the playground at Park Ridge isn't really the problem. It's a great location. The configuration of the playground is somewhat problematic, but we're really upgrading those elements and not planning on moving it from where it's currently located, just making substantial improvements on the design and amenities.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Does that answer your question, Councilmember Wilcoxon?
It does. I have a follow-up though. So this is from the block grant, and I understand why there's the public engagement. Can you remind me the source of the funding for the move at Candy Cane?
I believe that uses the Parks Capital Improvement Fund. Ron managed that process.
Yes, that is correct.
And I could speak to that if council likes. So, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but Game Time, you know, you use the CDBG procurement process, but I believe Game Time also uses a purchasing program similar to Sourcewell or MyDeal. For the Candy Cane bid project, we actually decided to put out an RFP to some of the companies to be able to bid on it. We received 4 or 5 different quotes from playground companies, which project manager Wessler evaluated and we put together. The funding source was from our Parks Capital Improvement Fund, which is from the health and safety millage. So we utilize those funds for that. And as far as the location, just brief update, you know, we are talking about moving it down towards Roosevelt. We've talked to some of the adjacent property owners there, and we're working to kind of tweak the location a little bit to accommodate some of their concerns. And but anyway, that was the difference in the process.
I would also just like to mention that, you know, if the contract is approved, it'll take 4 weeks for the equipment to come in, and then the installation would happen 30 days from the date that we get the equipment. And we would expect it to open in November.
Okay. So we just have to hope for nice weather in November so we can have a grand first. Watch the slide down the slide. So, okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, it was really a privilege to go through this process with the neighborhood. It started basically with the neighborhood association, and then we had meetings with the county and with the city. I think Bonnie hosted some, and then the county hosted some, and Joe was at a few of them. But it was a really true neighborhood decision on this all the way down. The neighborhood decided what they wanted to, what they wanted to do. Did they want the CDBG money to go for home repair, or the park was the playground was one of them. There were 2 or 3 other things, and people came out and discussed it, voted on it, and it was decided that people wanted the improvement in the park. And then from there, just this summer, we were able to have the neighborhood come out and vote. Even in the midst of the pandemic, there were a number of people that using safety measures and the not only safety measures, but the mask and all, that came out and voted. So I'm very happy to see this project come. Park Ridge Park has needed something to spruce it up for a long, long time, and now it has it. So thanks to everyone that worked on it. Clerk Kalinga, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxon.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. And thanks, council. Yes, it deserves a hand clap. Yes. Appreciate that.
Thank you to all the staff.
Excellent job. Excellent job, Jada, Joe, Chris, all those that were directly involved. Ron.
City manager.
Yes. Thank
During
you.
a pandemic. Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate what you did. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Halinga next.
The next item on the agenda is Resolution 2020-183, approving a youth mini grant. Resolved, Council of the City of Ypsilanti, whereas in the recently concluded fiscal year 2020-2021, the City Council approved a $25,000 grant to organizations that serve the youth in the city. And whereas the Ypsilanti Youth Athletic Association is an organization currently serving the youth in the city of Ypsilanti. And whereas Ypsilanti Youth Athletic Association has submitted a grant application for $5,000. And now therefore be it resolved that the Ypsilanti City Council approves a mini grant to Ypsilanti Youth Athletic Association in the amount of $5,000 to support youth football and cheerleading competitive athletics for children.
So move.
Second.
Okay. I think I heard Council Member Wilcoxon's support. Did you? No, you didn't? Okay. Who was that?
It was
Okay.
it was Somerville.
For Somerville. Okay. I was looking at Wilcoxon and I thought I saw your
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah. So, okay. It's been moved in second. So discussion, comments, questions? Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
So yes, this mini grant was submitted to the subcommittee, and we have looked at it. I am fully in support. We do have a representative from the Ypsilanti Youth Athletic Association that is on the meeting, that can give us some more background on what they have been doing with the young people in the community so far, because they've already been doing work throughout the pandemic to keep young people engaged over this summer. And also to answer any questions that anyone may have about, programming or what they're using the funds for, if the questions are there. So Clerk Halinga, can you upgrade Samantha Faulkner to a panelist, please? Thank you. So Samantha has been moved over to our panelist section. So if any members of council have questions for her or any of her team, she is here to answer those.
Okay, is Samantha here?
Yep, she is.
There you are. Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Samantha. You're muted.
And thank
There
you.
you
I apologize. I hit unmute. It didn't listen to me. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for considering our application and for welcoming us to the meeting this evening. I guess, would the council like to ask questions first, or would you like me to give a little bit of a background on what it is we do?
Would you give us some background on what you do, please?
Gladly. Thank you so much. So we operate under the name Ypsilanti Braves. Ypsilanti Youth Athletic Association is our 501c3 designated name, registered name. This organization has been operating in the community for about 50 years, and we run a youth football and cheerleading organization. I'm very happy to announce that we were able to expand our age group. From 7 to 13, we can now service children ages 5 to 14 in both sports. We added flag football for ages 5 and 6. Tackle begins at 7 and goes through 14. We're currently servicing approximately 183 children from the community this season. I'm very pleased to announce that enrollment is up in spite of COVID. We not only provide athletic training, but we also provide mentorship and conflict resolution for our athletes. And we focus on things like education, goals, pushing through and things like that. And I think that's pretty much it. That's us in a nutshell. Just connecting with the kids. Our coaches and volunteer staff don't just stop with what we do on the field. A lot of the coaches will also stay in touch with the parents outside of the season and assist kids with issues at school if there are any. We have done tutoring before. We have helped with school supplies before. So it's really just trying to help the kids that come to us be well-rounded, and learn how they can use sports in life, not just to have fun and be kids, but learn things like time management, what commitment means, and how they can use sports as a vehicle to a free education as well.
How are you, what are you doing to keep the children safe during this time when many schools and many other athletic programs are refraining from coming back full force?
Sure. So all of the children and volunteers are screened upon arriving to the field. So we do temperature checks and the symptom screening at our registration table, and those are recorded by team. So if you're on the 5 and 6 year old team, which is our flag team, those are all recorded together so that we can track the temperatures of each team as well. Coaches and volunteers are masked at all times. We follow social distancing protocols to the extent that, teams have 4 or 5 coaches. So the children are usually in groups of 10. And we're spread out all across the field. We use sanitizer on all equipment. We have hand sanitizer everywhere. We have sanitizing wipes on the equipment. So when each group is done with the drill, the equipment is sanitized before the next group participates in that drill. And if the children are not participating in the drill, they're socially distanced and should be masked. Also, parents are not allowed on the field, only volunteers and children. So we keep the spectators in a separate area who are socially distanced as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Councilmember Morgan.
I'm a coach. Well, first of all, I just want to say I believe in the growth, development, and mentorship of young athletes and students, and so I appreciate you guys still finding ways to keep the young people engaged. And I was going to mention that about the mayor, because being a coach down in Ohio, they're still competing down in Fort Wayne through these tournaments, and so even some of the teams that I used to coach are going down there. But when you think about the biggest breakouts going on in the Midwest, Ohio is one of the states leading it. And so a lot of activities that are seem to be getting back sooner are at risk also. So I appreciate you giving us some of the information about how you're keeping them safe. I want to know, out of the $5,000 out of the funds, and I wish we could give more, how much of those funds will be toward continuing efforts to protect kids from COVID, PPE equipment, or is it all going to, and I just want to hear one or two things. I know proximity is really different, and when people get into the heat of it, just to ensure, again, the safety of these young athletes, are they signing any waivers to come and practice and play besides the normal one for like getting physicals? Are they signing COVID personal waiver insurance liabilities with your company, or how is that working?
Yes, sir. So we have a waiver, and we actually modified the waiver to encompass COVID on a couple of different aspects. One, for the safety aspect, that is an added risk to a contact sport like football. So we added specific COVID language to our waiver. We also added language regarding our registration, and basically a promise that if something were to happen and the season could not go on, we would do everything in our power to provide value to the parents and the families and the children that registered with us to the best of our ability, if something happened due to COVID. So also the league that we belong to, we had joined PAL this year for this season, but because PAL lost their charitable funding from the Detroit Lions, they were unable to put on the season for us. So our organization is under Greater Metropolitan Youth Sports, GMYS, which consists of about 12 teams from PAL, and they have a COVID board. So we are constantly working hand in hand with them, and they have their own waiver as well. So
Okay.
our families are signing too.
And my last question, and then there is an emergency protocol in place just in case one young person gets COVID. So it's something that you all can enact in case.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. Seeing now, Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
I was just waiting for the questions and questions or any other comments to end. So I just wanted to again say thank you to Samantha for being available and for explaining all the great work that you all are doing, and for waiting throughout, the lengthy beginning of our meeting before the resolution came up. But thank you so much for being so thorough and answering everyone's questions.
Thank you all very much for your time and consideration. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Halinga, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxon,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And have a
Thank
great
you so much.
Have a great season, Samantha.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, next item, Mr. Halinga, please.
Council, next item on the agenda is resolution number 2020-184, an increase in the budget for ballot return postage. Resolved by the Council of the City of Ypsilanti, whereas through ballot proposal 3 in 2018, absentee voting was provided as a right to all voters in the state of Michigan, creating an increase in requests for absentee ballots. And whereas as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, a large majority of voters are now choosing to cast their vote through absentee ballot, increasing ballot requests by roughly 7 times the normal rate of requests for a state general election. And whereas the state of Michigan has pledged to reimburse all jurisdictions that provide return postage for absentee ballots. And whereas it is estimated there will be roughly 8,000 requests for absentee ballots for the November general. And now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Ypsilanti approve the increase of 4,000 to account number 101-7-2621-730-00 to be reimbursed by the state of Michigan after the conclusion of the November general election.
Support. Or so,
So move.
We need a motion first.
yeah, so move.
Support.
It's been moved by Councilmember Somerville and supported by Mayor Pro Tem Brown. Okay, is there any questions or discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
For the clerk. So given the situation with the post office, is it possible to include in the like folder that folks get once they either pick it up in person or get it mailed to them, like just like suggestions on how early they may need to put them in the mail if they're going to mail them?
We can't really put anything in the ballot other than what the return postage would be. But we are going to use social media. Social media as well as the city website to encourage people to return the ballots if they're going to use mail as soon as possible. And we also are still awaiting the delivery of our drop box from the state. I've also been speaking with an organization that has offered potential funding for a slew of items that I'll be able to provide council with greater information at a later date once I hear back from them. But in that I'm requesting an additional 2 drop boxes, locations yet to be determined. I have some ideas, but I haven't spoken with those organizations yet. So we are also, depending on the funding we get through this organization, we're hoping to also with the ballots send kind of an information postcard encouraging people to return these as soon as possible, or to use one of the drop boxes.
Okay, cool. I was very concerned. I'm just so concerned about that. Do you know how many were mailed in that got received after the August primary?
I would say that we've had return after the election concluded roughly 25 to 30.
Okay. That sucks. I guess it's like, yeah. Cool, thank you.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
Is this $4,000 going to be enough?
It's we already have some funding within that line item, and the ballots, the size of the ballots now, the thickness is not as great as it used to be with our previous machines. So the ballot should not require anything above a forever stamp, which with our postal machine, it would charge 50 cents. So that would give us, we'll have probably roughly $10,000 in that account with this increase. Oh, I'm sorry, $6,000.
And you're expecting to send out how many?
I'm expecting around 8,000 ballots to be mailed.
Cool.
Any
Thank
other
you.
questions or comments?
No, I think this is great. There were a lot of folks that were curious why we didn't do that for the primary. So it'll be exciting for people to see that for the general.
Yeah, and if this is something that council would like to do in future elections, then we would need to purchase a return postage permit, which we can do, and then we would just fund that account similar to our current postage permit.
Cool.
How much is a return postage permit?
It's roughly $250 annually, and then you'd have to put funds in it each time you wanted to affix postage to an envelope.
You put it in the amount that you wanted to use.
Right. For our AV applications, or I'm sorry, for the ballots themselves, for elections this size, it's roughly an additional $500 per election.
Seems like it'd be
And that would be with the 3,000. That was 2,500. So election this size, it would be probably like 3 times that. So about 1,500.
So would it be cheaper?
It would be cheaper, but we're being reimbursed. I mean, I can move forward with that, but the envelopes for this election have already been ordered, so they're not going to have that on there.
Mayor Pro Tem.
You were asking about that, Mayor, for like future elections, though, not this.
Right. No, not for
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah, because I think it would
Yeah,
make
so
sense.
it would be cheaper, and,
Yeah.
and we can definitely do that moving forward.
Yeah, I think for future elections, that would make a lot of sense.
I think so too. Yeah. Any other questions, comments? I'm not seeing you, Council Member Simmons. Did you have any questions or comments?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, clerk, please call the roll.
Mayor Richardson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morgan,
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is resolution number 2020-185, approving a budget adjustment for an employee, part-time clerk treasury generalist. Resolved by the council of the city of Ypsilanti, whereas in order to maintain efficiency in election procedure, clerk department functions and treasury department functions, an additional part-time employee is needed. And whereas the city manager has reviewed the request of an additional part-time employee and has deemed it necessary to maintain service levels. Now therefore be it resolved, the city council of the city of Ypsilanti approve the budget allocation of $24,533.60 for base wages and accounts numbered 101-7-2150-707-00 clerk and 101-7-2530-707-00 treasury, 490.67 for workers' comp and account numbers 101-7-2150-714-02 and 101-7-2530-714-02 and 1,876.82 for Social Security and Medicare, and the account numbers 101-7-2150-714-05 and 101-7-2530-714-05 to be split evenly between departments.
So move.
Support.
Support. Okay. It's been moved and supported. And I said, wow, because that was really a mouthful that he just read, all of those numbers. Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Just for clarity's sake, this person is a generalist, right? So this person has general knowledge of the treasury and the clerk department.
Correct. Yes, they would.
Okay. So there are some responsibilities, duties that each department has, like a to-do list, right? And this person will have some knowledge, or is it training, or is people coming in with a general knowledge and they just foresee?
I mean, applicants would be interviewed and we'd hire accordingly, and then there would be training provided.
And is there overlapping work between your position and Reagan's position?
Day-to-day operations in the treasury is something that I monitor. The clerk and treasury generalists are the finance director is their direct supervisor. However, day-to-day operations is something that I review. So I'm familiar with treasury functions, and I assist in day-to-day operations. And then clerk functions, I'm also aware of.
So this person can have a lot of their plate.
So basically, everyone in the office down here is cross-trained on everything.
Okay. So if you miss a day, so Basabika could fill in for you for the day, right?
Well, everyone in this office.
Okay. So no, I just wanted to know what the generalist was and how that would break down the training and stuff. But I'm okay with that, with the answer. Thank you so much.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Clerk Kalinga, please call the roll.
Councilmember Morgan?
Yes.
Councilmember Simmons?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilcoxen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Somerville,
Yes.
Mayor Richardson.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. All right, and I think that brings us to an item that we tabled from the last meeting, correct?
Yes, that's correct, Mayor.
Yes. The that brings us to the commission assignments. Okay, I think I talked with everyone today. I except Council Member Wilcox, and I did try to, wasn't able to reach you, but so everyone pretty much knows where they're going or what they're going to do. The Police Advisory Commission, Council Member Morgan and Mayor Pro Tem Brown, they both wanted that. Council Member Morgan asked first, so he's going to be the.
I have a question. Sorry.
Pardon?
Oh, I have a question. Shouldn't we be nominating people?
I don't know that this has to be a vote. I wasn't told that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Mr. Barr is here. Mr. Barr, would you address this for us, please?
Yes, this is a situation where the advisory commission will be nominated by the mayor and approved by the city council.
Wait.
Sorry, that wasn't clear.
Your voice went out.
Okay. Pursuant to the charter, boards and commissions are appointed by the mayor and approved by city council. The same thing would be applicable to liaison to the different boards and commissions.
Okay, thank you. So once we go through and all of these names have been assigned to a commission, then we vote on it. Is that correct, Mr. Barr?
That would be the idea, yes. What I would recommend is that if you have an appointment, that you go ahead and make the appointment and see if there's any objection. And you can vote on it if you want.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right. Is there any objection to Councilmember Morgan being appointed to the Police Advisory Commission? Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
I don't necessarily have objection, but when we talked earlier, I mean, it's totally fine, but I did want to ask Councilmember Morgan, because I didn't have a chance to speak with him, if he was his heart was set on doing this, because I do feel like strongly connected to this board as I was a part of creating it. And so I would like to serve, but if your heart is dead set on it, I mean, it's fine. But from the beginning, when we talked about adding new liaisons, I think I spoke up about it in a meeting about participating. So just.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you have a quarter somewhere in your proximity and you flip it, I'm gonna take your word for it.
I got a dime.
Okay, you got a dime. I got one too. Listen,
Wait.
Hey.
I just also want to say Nicole did bring this up a few months ago.
So did.
It's public record that I had said it first. We're just gonna leave it there. No, I'm just talking. I don't know, but I'm willing to flip a dime. Can we flip a dime?
We can.
Go ahead and flip it.
We can both flip it though.
No. I trust you more. So
okay.
I won't tell.
I have a quarter.
Well, can I say this before you flip? Okay. With Council Member Morgan being assigned, that does not prohibit you from attending the meetings, Mayor Pro Tem Brown. Okay. Right. So that doesn't prohibit you from that. So you both can be there.
I do want it. I think you want it as much. I'm willing to go with a flip.
I feel like that's fair. I do.
I think you should rock, paper, scissors.
Ooh.
I'll take tails.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, Nicole.
I'm not really good at flipping, but I'm gonna try to flip. Tails, you got it.
Damn it.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you. But that does not prohibit you from going to the meetings.
Oh yeah, no, I will still attend. I will attend.
All right. Oh wait. I don't know about where you are, but my lights are flickering. I've had thunder and lightning here, so. Okay, Arts Commission, Councilmember Somerville.
No, no, objection. No, 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 mind.
Okay, is
Someone
there?
could have beat me to it.
Are
but
there any objections from council on that? Okay. Seeing none. Oh, I hope my lights don't go out. Are yours flickering, Mayor Pro Tem? No? Okay. All right, Human Relations Commission. That will be Mayor Pro Tem Brown, and I think that you'll do an excellent job there, Mayor Pro Tem. I believe that's a good fit for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, she did choose that one, so, but I think it's a good fit for her. Parks and Recreation Commission. Councilmember Wilcoxon, I know you're on sustainability, but I also know that you are I have been working with the Rutherford Pool Committee. And so with those being so close, I was wondering if you would take the Parks and Rec and the sustainability.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Be happy to.
Appreciate that. Are there any objections from council?
No, I have a few questions though.
Yes.
Because what we haven't really talked about are what are the expectations being a liaison, and how long do these terms last?
I was a stickler for the.
Mr. Barr, can you help with that? My understanding that generally what I've known since I've been on council, there has been no real end date unless somebody really wanted to make a change.
Right. This is a more or less an ad hoc position, and the position would continue until the end of the term of the council member unless something else happened or unless you set a specific term.
Councilmember Simmons, does that answer your question?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. Are you satisfied with that one?
I'm satisfied with the answer. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Sustainability Commission. We already know that Councilmember Wilcoxon is taking that one. The Historic District Commission, Councilmember Simmons said today that she would take that one.
Well,
with
hang on. The only reason I agreed to that, I really wanted was Zoning Board of Appeals. But you said you had coupled those together with Brian for the Planning Commission, and apparently I lost out on that opportunity because you happened to speak to him first. But I kind of would like to pull rank on that as a former Zoning Board of Appeals member, and I've also been on council longer. So I'm pretty busy with Watts, and so I would rather do the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, so are you willing to take both the Historic Commission and the Historic District and Zoning Board?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. I mean, I don't think there's any zoning or historic districts in my ward, but I'm happy to do that. So sure.
Okay.
I have
Council Member Jones Chance.
Yeah, if there's a scheduling or timing constraint, seeing as the Zoning Board of Appeals doesn't meet as often, I'd be happy to do both Historic Commission and Planning.
Okay.
If that's better.
Well, now here, the Historic District Commission, my understanding is, I think they meet fairly regularly. Clerk Kalinga, could you help us with that?
Correct, they meet twice a month.
So
the Historic District does.
Yeah, they are on the opposite Tuesdays of council.
I'm just trying to accommodate schedule, so.
If you're willing to flip flop those, I would love that.
Okay.
Okay, I have a passion for zoning, so.
Okay, so help me understand. Councilmember Simmons, you're going to take zoning and historic?
Brian said he's willing to do historic and planning because he's a rock star.
Okay, well, I don't want to do it that way because historic and planning, Planning Commission meets what, twice a month or once a month? Clerk Kalinga?
I know they meet at least once a month. Joe or Christopher probably can give you a better idea of the exact frequency. I'm not, let me pull up the schedule.
Yeah, no, planning commission meets once a month, historic district meets twice, ZBA meets once as needed.
Right. So if someone took the historic district, they're going to be meeting and with council, that's 4 times a month. So wouldn't want to add anything else to that.
I have a
The
question.
planning is 1 time and his zoning is as needed. That's why I was willing to put planning and zoning together. Councilmember Somerville.
Yeah, I have a question because I'm super confused. I didn't realize that people were getting multiple like commissions at once. Like I kind of thought people would nominate us. I guess I should have asked when you called earlier to like ask about the Arts Commission. So this process is kind of confusing. I think we should maybe like take a step back and maybe people should indicate all of the commissions they're interested in and maybe why they're interested in being on them, because at like this point, I'm like, this process doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really seem like there's like a rhyme or reason, and it's not like official. There's no end date, which kind of sucks because what if somebody else wanted to be a liaison on a commission? Maybe they should only go 2 years. I don't know, but this seems
That's
kind
all
of
it. Well, this is the way that I'm just following the path that has been set before, that the mayor always made, and that there wasn't the nominate, there was no nominations before. But I'm open if council wants to change the whole process, that's fine with me. But you know,
I think
we've never done it that, I mean, this is the way that it was done. So I'm just following procedure.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I was unaware. Obviously, this is my first year on council, but it seems like other folks are confused also.
Well, we have, all of council is fairly new.
Right.
If you stop and look at it,
yeah.
So, okay. Councilperson Wilcoxon.
Yeah, I think part of the confusion here is that these come up one at a time in the past, and now we're trying to fill all these seats at the same time. So there's got to be a little bit more conversation about that. But that's all I was going to say. When I was appointed to the Sustainability Commission, there wasn't an endpoint. It was vacated because the previous liaison became the mayor, and I had shown interest in, and that was, I don't even recall what happened during that meeting. I mean, there was a question of, I guess the previous mayor had nominated me and nobody objected. I mean, that's kind of how it went then. But it does seem a little more confusing when there's multiple positions at the same time. So.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
So another monkey wrench is that because I thought about being on the police advisory, that they meet on Thursdays. The Human Relations Commission meets on Mondays, and so I have a conflict on Mondays, at least until December. So it wouldn't be that many meetings, but just putting it out there that there may be Mondays that I cannot attend due to my class conflict for the semester.
All right, thank you.
Council, the HRC is currently dormant because of their bylaws and the members that are on it. So there's a high potential that they don't meet until after December.
Oh, but that works perfectly then. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you. Okay, so Annie, are you, Councilmember Somerville, please excuse me. Are you saying you would not like the Arts Commission?
Well, no, I'm just noticing that like this process seems confusing for more than one person. So maybe just suggesting we like take a step back and maybe make the process a little more less confusing, and maybe everyone can take a look at them, and maybe there might be a few things that they might be interested, but maybe give reasons why. I don't know. The process should, like, it seems like a lot at once because there's so many boards and commissions without a liaison right now. That's all. I mean, it seems like there's confusion, not just for me, but for others.
And what's the purpose?
Councilmember Simmons.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering what the purpose of, I mean, I get it to some extent for some of our more active boards and commissions, particularly like planning, I think is pretty active, and sustainability seems to be pretty active in HRC at various times. But, you know, and some of us are kind of liaisons or have roles in other stuff, you know, whether it's some COG, I do Watts, there's Urban County, the DDA. And so, you know, is it just so, because I don't know that really just because you're a liaison means you have to go to every meeting. You know, I'm not sure why we need to necessarily put that on our plate. You know, do they really necessarily want a council person kind of, you know, watching over and overseeing? I mean, to me, they should really be working on things. But also, I understand that if they have questions, concerns, it's a contact person, right, to get to on council. Well, to me, if there isn't a specific council person, then to me, they should go to the mayor probably, or as the designee, you know, for that kind of stuff. So I don't know, just kind of curious, do we really need somebody for every one of these?
I see the two hands that are up, but I'm going to go to Mr. Barr. Mr. Barr, could you give us some more information on what the whole purpose of liaisons to the commissions?
Yes. By the city charter, council members are prohibited from serving on the boards and commissions except as provided by law, by state law. For instance, the mayor serves on the DDA. However, in the past, and I think the recent past, some of the boards and commissions have felt that they needed a liaison to city council to express what they were doing and to maybe get some additional information to city council. There's nothing in the city charter that says about the liaisons. This is an informal process. And in the past, as has been indicated, if a board and commission indicated that they wanted a liaison, then the mayor would appoint someone. That's where we are now. And as I look at it, I think there's been appointments now for all of the boards and commissions here except the Historic District Commission.
Correct. Yes. Okay, Councilmember Morgan, I'll get back to you. Councilmember Wilcoxon, and then Councilmember Somerville, and then Morgan.
I forgot what I was going to say. No, I was going to address the question by Councilmember Simmons. You know, being liaison, there's a number of times that questions come up that you know, maybe the commissioners don't know, and between Ron and I in the Sustainability Commission, we can answer those questions in terms of what processes are there, and there's specific information that they may be lacking that could hold up their, as they meet once a month. Sometimes the tracking down that information could be, you know, time consuming and something that get held up for yet another month until they meet again. So acting as a, you know, a source of information and then also bringing their concerns to the council is kind of the two-way connection going on there. And you know, it's not there to influence or anything like that. You know, I certainly don't influence votes, but if I can bring information that helps them come to their decisions, then that's how I do it.
Councilmember Somerville, your hand was next.
Oh yeah, I just had a question because, like, to my knowledge, we've never had a council liaison for planning. It almost seems like I'm just confused by that. I don't know if Mr. Barr has any thoughts on that.
Well, there's nothing in the charter that talks about liaison to any of these commissions. I don't know, has planning asked for a liaison?
I don't think so. I guess like the HD, I guess I'm concerned about like both, because I feel like the HDC and planning, like I didn't think either of them had liaisons.
Well, I don't know if he was, I don't know if he was an official liaison, but I do know that council member Murdoch attended planning regularly. I can't necessarily say that he, but I do know that he attended pretty much every planning commission meeting. Can't say that he was officially appointed as liaison, but
I think, oh, sorry.
he pretty much served that purpose when he was,
Yeah.
when he was,
Gotcha.
okay.
Cool.
So,
It looks like Joe. I think Joe. I don't know if you can see Joe's hand.
no, I can't see Joe. Joe, okay. Yes, Joe, please go on.
So just in giving a little bit of context, there was a discussion about adding council liaison to certain boards and commissions. And so the clerk and I had discussed, well, really, we should have council liaisons on all of these. And in every other city I've ever worked with or in, council has sat on all of these boards and commissions, but our charter prohibits it. And so that is why we actually are looking at a council liaison, because in every other city, there are city council members on all of these boards and commissions. It's a requirement. And for some reason, our charter does not allow that.
Okay, thank you for that. Council Member Morgan.
I think the last sentence that Joe just mentioned about what our charter doesn't allow, which means a lot of this, I hate to say it's arbitrary, but it's definitely, there's nothing specific. And I think we have the power to create that. So even if we're talking about what a liaison is, what it does, how long it's supposed to last, what the functions of it is, it's well within our power. So this being all kind of cloudy, we don't have to make decisions that we don't have to make. And I think since when you think about it, we're not locked into these things by contract, so we can rotate. Any of us have the ability to go anywhere we want if we chose to. So I could go to the human relations, I could go to sustainability. I don't need to have a title of liaison. So it's kind of arbitrary to even, it's a moot point to discuss where we can be if that's where our interests were. Now for me to have to pick one and have to stay on that, and then we think about liaison, it's my job to bring back some of the discussion that was happening there so that we can make better decisions, then that falls on me alone, not everybody else. And I think, again, we all have the ability to visit any one of these things to be as partners so we can have more I'm not saying I don't trust Council Member Wilcoxon, but if I trust his lens alone on the Sustainability Commission, that's me free. I think I should come sit and see see something different that he doesn't see. So I'm just saying I don't have to get locked into the police. I don't have to get locked into human nothing. I'll float if necessary. But I just want to know what again, I don't want to get into it with an open-ended, no service date completion. I may not even want to be on it till I'm off council. I may just want to be on it for 6 months and do something else. Is that legal? Clerk Linda?
I think it is. If you want to come back and say that you want to change or want to back off of it, I think you can. Clerk Kalinga, your hand's up.
Really, the intent behind this, council, is just for the liaisons to be a conduit of information, both to that advisory board and then to council. These bodies were created in order to inform council, and resolutions, potential ordinance amendments are forwarded and appear on council agendas, but there's really not a narrative that goes along with that. So I think having a council member as a liaison can provide that information to council and kind of give the tone of what the commission was thinking when they passed a resolution asking for an ordinance amendment. It's just about information going both ways. These bodies are effective.
Okay. Council Member Jones Chance.
Yeah, I think it makes sense, and I think it could be a good way to shorten the length of meetings if we have someone from the commission who was there that can speak to the information being presented.
Can I make a suggestion? Something in coming out of what Joe said and what Clerk Kalinga said and Mr. Barr. Would council like to form a subcommittee of one person from each ward to set up some guidelines for liaisons to these commissions so that it's not in the charter, but this would give council something to work from or to go by. It's up to you, yes or no. I'm just throwing it out as a suggestion because we could get some answers to all of the questions and all of the points that have been made tonight without having to continue, so that we don't continue and prolong the meeting. If you don't like it, that's fine.
What was it? Make a motion to do what?
No, it wasn't a motion. I was throwing out a suggestion that council set up a 3-member, one person from each ward, to outline outline a system of appointing people to a liaison to each commission, how long that would last, and the selection process. But just to give us council some guidelines. Since the charter doesn't do it, this council can come together and set that up themselves, just for some guidelines. If council wants to do it, fine. If you don't, I'm just making a suggestion so that we don't continue to go round and round and round.
I would support that.
I support that. I'd like to volunteer from Ward 3.
Okay.
We got to flip a quarter now.
Sorry,
sis,
Anthony.
I'm saying. No, we got to flip quarters. I'm a quarter flipper. Just can't pull a rank like that. I'm the third longest ranking member here. No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
Fourth, maybe.
Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
So I personally don't support doing this, and I'm only saying that because I think that being the liaison to whatever commission or board that you're a part of is going to be what you make it. I don't think that we should create parameters around what we should do, because we've been doing this with the ones that already had liaisons for a long time and it's been working. Like, we didn't have that. We didn't need to have rules around it. If you're going to attend every meeting, you attend every meeting. If you're not going to do that and you're just going to be a conduit, then you're going to do it that way. I just feel like it's adding additional work and labor for council that continues to change when we have other things that are, like, honestly more important to have subcommittees to talk about than how you plan to serve as a liaison. Sorry.
Okay, and I wasn't so much talking about how that you would decide how people are going to serve. That wasn't exactly what I was talking about. Clerk Kalinga.
If I can make a suggestion, council, why don't we just keep these until the seating of the new council on November 9th at the organizational meeting, and then revisit the process and see if council would like to change it in any way.
That's why you the clerk.
I love that idea, Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew. You're the best.
That's a yes vote for me. Thank you, Andrew, for the suggestion.
Council Member Jones Chance.
I like that suggestion. However, it leaves us where we left off, which is, am I going to be able to serve on the Historic and Planning Commission so that we don't monopolize Ms. Simmons' time?
Oh, if you're willing to do that.
I am. Let's roll.
Okay. All right. If you're willing to do that, fine. Okay. Thank you so very much. And if I can clarify, all I was doing was I wanted a subcommittee for the process, not so to say how long people would stay or whatever, but a process of selecting but anyway, that's all settled. If everyone is willing to accept that their appointment for this time. Okay. Any objections? I don't think we have to have a motion and vote, but everybody's okay? Thank you. I thank you for the thumbs up that I'm seeing. I'm seeing one from you over here, Ms. Councilmember Morgan. Thank you. All right. I didn't see what, Annie, are you, I'm Councilmember.
I'm like halfway there.
Okay. Is there something that you?
Well, I mean, I initially didn't going into this, I didn't even think it was possible to have someone sit on the planning commission. So there's just things that, there's just decisions that I would have made otherwise if I would have known that, so.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Simmons.
Well, and I think I agree with Annie. I'm willing to agree to this just till we seat the new council and go from there. And then we can take the time, maybe and figure some of this out. Because, you know, again, I appreciate what you're trying to do, Mayor. But I think, right, you know, depending on who you spoke to first was kind of like what the options were available. And I guess I'd rather kind of hash that out a little bit more going forward. You know, again, because some of us have some different commitments, you know, as Mr. Jones-Chance mentioned about monopolizing my time. But, you know, I do Watts, and that one's usually pretty active, although not so much this summer, but, you know, so we can take different things into consideration and interest as well.
Okay. I will take all those comments and I receive them all, and going forward, we will try to, you know.
And Mayor, I just want to say, in my 21 years here at Ypsilanti, I haven't heard about a Liaison of the Year award. So I don't know what the liaisons are doing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the feedback, I don't know how well they are, what standards we keep and what, you know what I'm saying? It's just liaison. So I'm not saying that people, so we got to find a way to make them better. And however that is, just being on them is not good enough. And I think we have the ability and capacity to determine what a liaison can be and how proficient they can be at their job. And there's nothing wrong with that.
All right, thank you. Okay. Any other comments on the appointments? Okay. All right, thank you. Clerk Kalinga.
Council, the next item on the agenda is the discussion of Sustainability Commission Resolution number 2020-002, support from pollinator plants.
Okay, the discussion is open.
How do you want to go about doing this? As the liaison to the Sustainability Commission, I could talk to this. Joe could talk to his memo first.
So why don't you lead us off as the
Okay.
Member Wilcoxon?
So back in February of this year, this was brought up before the commission.
Can I hold you just a second, please?
Sure.
Before we start this discussion, would someone please make a motion to extend the meeting to 10:15?
I'll move to 10:15.
Support.
Been moved in second. Clerk, would you carry that motion through, please?
My thing's on 2%. So
Plug it in, man.
it's plugged in. There's something wrong with my cord. Don't judge me.
Okay. No, clerk, would
That's Mayor. That's
is
just
a voice vote on that? Good.
Yes, voice vote would be fine, Mayor.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. Councilmember Wilcoxon, go right ahead.
All right, so this came up in the Sustainability Commission back in February. There was some discussion there. There was some language put together, and it was not passed at that time. There was a lot of discussion what should go into this. There were a number of months where there weren't any meetings. This came back up to the Sustainability Commission in July. At that time, Commissioner Greenwald who is an ecology professor at EMU, had done research into the particular ordinances for the city that would be affected, and had met with a number of botanists and other biologists in terms of the making our ordinance congruent with the state list of noxious weeds. And so that was part of it. Part of this, the impetus was also solicitation from Kate Levin. And so Commissioner Greenwald put a great deal of time into looking these up and making these things coincide with the state list of noxious weeds. They then put this forward as a resolution. There were some issues with the resolution. The first part of the resolution was straightforward. And then when it got to the point of what they were asking city council to do and how to instruct city staff, there was some confusing language in there because it referenced the wrong ordinances, and it told us to go through the zoning ordinance and things like that, which were irrelevant. So I spent some time talking with Joe about, and Bonnie Lessler as well. Bonnie had back in February given the Sustainability Commission information about those relevant ordinances and what the action should be at that time. And so recently, there's been this is blown up on social media with people saying that the city council is or the city is against pollinators, and I don't think that was ever the intent. And so further conversations with Joe, talking about what's enforceable, what it would include for what it would take for city staff to enforce the new ordinance as amended by that resolution. And so that's why he has this memo, and I'd like to let Joe speak to that.
Okay. All right, Joe.
Yeah, so good evening, council. My memo was in the packet, but in talking to Steve, Councilmember Roy Coxon, and my enforcement officers, and really doing a big data dump and try to figure out, if you want to rewrite an ordinance, who are you enforcing on, and why? And so really, the vast majority, 75% of the enforcement actions that we take at code enforcement are against non-homeowner occupied houses. So that's landlords, vacant property owners, some dead people, realistically. And those are, the vast majority are grass and weed complaints where they just don't cut their grass. We have, I want to say, probably 30 homes that we just cut their grass every 2 weeks when it gets above 10 inches. And that's just our common routine practice, and we bill it to taxes. Occasionally a homeowner forgets, is out of town. That does happen, but so we really looked at it and, okay, so how many of these enforcement actions took place on somebody who had what I would consider a garden, for lack of a better words. And so over the past year and 3 months, we had 8, 6 of which we sent a letter, and then they complied. Most of the time when we sent a letter to what is a garden, they have a patch of grass that got well above 10 inches, and so they cut it. One person, we actually had our contractor cut it. They did not touch the garden, but they did cut the grass. And then we have one person in AHB. So really, there's one person who's actually working with the judge right now on this. My biggest fear and concern with amending the ordinance as presented to you tonight is that there will be absolutely zero chance that any of our dead or vacant property owners will ever get their grass cut unless it's full of noxious weeds. And it will also allow for landlords not to actually maintain their properties, which I would like to not see. If you really look at who we are writing tickets to, it's not to the typical person, the old lady who owns her home. We work with almost everyone. We've looked into a couple of ways we could actually encourage bee pollinator gardens. I think you guys know with the DDA, we're a huge sponsor of the Festival of the Honeybee. We really try to actually make sure that all of our pollinator gardens are good. And there just has to be, a little bit of maintenance on those. But we looked at the two ways that Ann Arbor does and Ferndale does. Ferndale has a registry that says basically, here's what we're planting. And then if that starts to get out of hand, that's one way. Ann Arbor has a 12 inches of grass and weeds and a 36-inch average of other plants on the site. That would be another way. But really, we want to allow for pollinator gardens, which we do in 99% of the cases. There is occasion where a pollinator garden gets out of hand. And, I've taken a couple people past, and some of these yards do get out of hand. To where the neighbors are complaining. And so that's kind of where we're at. I don't know if anyone has any direct questions. I've been attacked on social media, but really we are very pro pollinator garden in our office. We really work with everyone. It's just a few people who have who don't always maintain it to the best ability. And really, you know, if you haven't cut your grass in over a month, you're going to need to at least trim it down a little bit. And so the one person who has complained, we've actually, they did some maintenance. We went back out and they're not being enforced on at this point because they have actually done the maintenance that was needed. And it still is a lush garden for them. So.
Councilmember Somerville.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, Councilmember Wilcoxon, and Joe. I talked both separately with both of you about the possibility of having some sort of online registry, just like I think Ferndale. Is Ferndale the city that has that? Is that something like, would that require council legislation, or is that something that we can just do?
I would say it would be helpful for council to pass a resolution saying, let's create this program for code enforcement. But under our current ordinance, we will not enforce after gardens if they are at least relatively well maintained.
Yeah, I mean, my thinking, I guess, is like you should have to, like, if people register, if residents register their pollinator garden, and there's a mechanism for them to upload images and for city staff to ask questions before enforcing anything. So like we don't really have to go through that whole like ticketing process. That would be great. Like that's what I'm kind of envisioning, like a process for houses to register their gardens and then upload images and maybe details, like typical questions that might get asked, but as much detail as possible to like clear up any confusion with the enforcement, but then also like a mechanism for city staff and the enforcement office to ask questions without it to come, like without it being a ticket at first or like a warning. Like I feel like that would be an easier non-combative way to like try to like work most of the kinks out before it gets to a point where like everybody's just like, you know, unclear.
Yeah.
Oh, Councilmember Simmons.
Thanks, Councilmember Somerville. I like that. That's a good idea of one way to approach this. I think some of the concerns that Councilmember Wilcoxon was kind of dealing with folks was part of the issue is like the aesthetic piece of some of this, where I think there's like an education piece and then also just the aesthetic of, you know, kind of what these gardens look like, particularly I think in front yards. Generally, you know, in like zoning, like front yards, there's more sensitivity to what goes in front yards versus side lots and back yards. But anyway, that could be, you know, one way of maybe folks working with the city and making it a little bit more collaborative. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm open to hearing that, but I'm curious to know what Joe maybe thinks about that as an option, if that's somehow helpful for what you're dealing with.
So I put it in my memo, like I would prefer that over getting rid of the grass and weed ordinance. You know, we are B City USA, like, and our office is the one that actually applies for that every year. I think it's actually every 2 years, but still. So fully agree with the mission. It's just, we also want to make sure that we don't have vermin in the yards. We want to make sure that trash isn't being collected. We want to make sure that noxious weeds are being blown onto other people's properties. Those are our big, huge concerns. And we also want to make sure if somebody's not maintaining the property that we can actually step in and do that. And so that's why I would prefer that over just eliminating all types of grass and weed height, just be essentially.
Yeah, no, thanks for explaining that too, because I think, and, you know, and maybe that's just still a necessary evil, so to speak. Because the large part of folks in the city are going to maintain grass, right? So we still have to have some kind of, you know, restrictions, understanding of what's appropriate for that. And again, I think, right, we're a pretty big bee-friendly city. I mean, you know, I'm all about pollinator gardens, rain gardens, particularly, you know, I'm really big on. But I think we also have to respect that there needs to be kind of concerns to some of the aesthetic, particularly in the front yard. And, you know, that it doesn't just look like crazy weeds and, you know, whether that's signage, but I think it's more than just, you know, sign saying that this plot of whatever is, you know, it is just a pollinator garden. I think, I don't know, I think there needs to be a little bit more though, but I don't know.
Councilmember Wilcoxen, your hand was up and you
Yeah,
took it down.
I had a question. Because since there is a state statute on noxious weeds, I was going to ask Mr. Barr if he knew anything about how that applies to within the city limits.
Yes, there are two different levels of authority and enforcement. Throughout the state, it's illegal to have noxious weeds, and the state has some process on that. The city also has a noxious weed ordinance, but it classifies noxious weeds as anything over a certain height. I think it's either 10 or 12 inches. But both of those would apply in the city. And even if the city changes their ordinance, it still would not affect what can be grown. You can't grow noxious weeds.
So with the language that's in this proposed ordinance change, that would eliminate the height, the 10-inch height, and then make the noxious weeds designation congruent with the state level. So if that doesn't happen, does the state level still apply? So the underlying thing here is like, one is simple because you can look at the height of it, and the other one is more complicated and more specific.
Exactly.
And so if we keep the height, does the state statute of saying you can't have poison ivy and things like that coming out of your property, does that still apply within the city limits?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask
Councilmember Jones Brook Chance.
I'll defer to Mr. Morgan.
if this is
Okay.
if this is
I'm
Family
sorry.
Feud, I'm Mr. Buzzer. I want to ask, because more than just code enforcement, are we empowering our people who go out and look at these noxious weeds? Like, are these horticulturalists? Are these people who have training in recognizing and categorizing and different types of plants, or this ordinance is just heaped on the other 100 ordinances they have to follow? Because it seems that people who have these gardens are more versed in, again, bees and butterflies and different things. When someone said, hey, they recognize they have a ruler that this is over a certain height, and that's what's defined as noxious. So my question is, are the people who are enforcing it, are they over enforcing it because they can't identify it? Are they under enforcing it because they know exactly what it is? Or people saying that like the bees and the butterfly gardens are helpful, so don't categorize them as noxious?
So I had put money in the budget this year to send our code enforcement officers to training. COVID has kind of stopped some of that. They do have obviously books and things like that. But really, when we do have an issue, and like I said, it's rare, we defer to the resident to ask, what is that? And does it look intentional in any sort of way? And some of our properties, they are gardens, and gardens are regulated by a different ordinance. But this ordinance is utilized mostly to ensure people are cutting their grass. And so when it comes to the 8 people we've identified in the last year, like I said, most people realized when we reached out, their gardens were a little out of control, and they maintained it. And then a few others have had other issues, but this is they are not horticulturalists by any sense of the word. But that part of their training will be to become more familiar with plants. But we don't come in with a 10-inch ruler and just chop everything down. We never have. We have never cut somebody's flowers in their garden. We have worked with the property owner to make sure that will not happen.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
Yeah, I guess one of my concerns with the current ordinance as it sits, and I'm not saying that this is a problem in IPSI at the moment, but ounce of prevention, is to know where these are being enforced, and we've got 25% of 25% of these violations being owner-occupied housing, and I just want to be sure that folks who don't have the ability to fight back or whatever, or go through administrative hearings and all that stuff are getting a fair shake. So I do think changing it would be beneficial. And since the noxious weed definition would be changed and be based on species, by definition, these plots would have to be cultivated because you have to take out the noxious weeds, and a lot of them are species of grass. And so I don't see much issue there. And as far as the aesthetics, I guess I don't put too much weight on what a neighbor thinks of someone else's property.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have something to add. Sorry. That is also something that I feel pretty strongly about, which is kind of why I think the database, like some sort of online mechanism, not just for city staff, but also neighbors, like should be able to look at it and understand a little bit more, because I think like historically speaking, like yard like laws are pretty messed up, to say the least. So I think it would just be helpful to like kind of get rid of some of the I don't know, like I think some people are just used to seeing cookie cutter lawns, and seeing a pollinator garden is a little terrifying for them, but we also need to make a culture shift. I totally 100% respect and agree that we need to be making sure that we're paying attention to trash and vermin, and making sure that land, like just neglectful landlords and other situations, that we can still enforce that. But I do think that, like, I don't know, personally, I don't think that like neighbors should have that much influence over what someone's pollinator garden can look like. I mean, we don't get to pick out what kind of Halloween or Christmas decorations people put out in their yards. It's basically the same thing. That's all.
Anyone else? Any more comments?
I have a couple more comments regarding both the, as it's written now, and the proposed changes. So both of these contain subjective clauses. In one case, the words unsightly and unkempt are in the current phrasing, and that's subjective, and that is how. And to me, that's the crux of the matter with Ms. Levin's property, is that somebody went by and said, that doesn't look the way I want it to. And so that subjective language is in there, and that's open to interpretation by the person who's making the complaint. It's open to interpretation by the enforcement officer, and it's open to interpretation by the landowner. The proposed change has a very specific list of plants in there, and there was an objection by one Sustainability Commission member saying that some of these are medicinal plants, and he certainly wanted to grow them on his property. And so for that reason, there's language in there about the noxious weeds being dominant. And again, that's a subjective term. And this is like, unless you're going to count species and number of plants and things like that, what is the dominant thing? But the goal here is to keep this from encroaching onto other people's property. And again, it's not so much, you do what you want with your yard, keep it in a state that it's not going to encroach on your neighbors, with things that they would then be inclined to use chemicals to mitigate. So I just wanted to point out there's two subjective clauses in both readings of these.
Councilmember Jones Chance.
To kind of piggyback off of that, yeah, and with the sort of subjective measures notwithstanding, I think this gives us a more objective measure for the purposes of code enforcement. You know, there are photos on the database and you can pull them up and you can look at what plants are there, and it seems to be a much more clear way to go about this. And also in the resolution, I would add that we forgive any current fines on owner-occupied property.
I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
Council doesn't have the authority to forgive fines. The city manager can decrease them, but the only person that can set aside a judgment would be the administrative hearings officer.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, this was strictly a discussion item. So Clerk Kalinga, is this resolution 2020-002, is that due to come? Is that the number for the resolution from the Sustainability Commission, or is that a number that's to be brought before council?
No, that is the number of the Sustainability Commission resolution.
Okay.
Any amendments to this ordinance would require a public hearing and 2 readings.
Right, okay. So do we ask, does council decide if we want to bring this to the, a resolution for council to decide, or how do we handle this? Since it came from the Sustainability Commission to council, it's been an item of discussion for council. So where does council go with it from here? Help me with that, please.
Depending on the consensus of council, you could have the city attorney review the ordinance as was written or proposed by the Sustainability Commission, and after his review, we could post it for public hearing and schedule it for an available agenda.
Okay. Does council vote on whether or not they want to make that decision to pass it on to the, or Mr. Barr has signed on?
Well, to bring the matter before the council, the mayor could do that on the mayor's motion. The manager could do it, or any 2 council members could request that it come to my office to prepare it to come to council.
I would be willing to do that.
I would second that.
There's support for that?
Yeah.
Who's supporting? Steve, Commissioner, Councilmember Wilcoxon and Councilmember Jones Chance would like for this to go to the, you want it to go to the city attorney's office for review?
Yes.
That's what
All
you're
right.
at.
I'll go forward then.
Oh, we lost him.
Okay. You blocked out Mr. Barr.
I'll go forward and prepare an RFL and a draft ordinance for consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or discussion on this discussion item? Okay. I hear somebody.
Yeah, it's me. Sorry, jumped in late. I just wanted to speak to the registration. So in Ms. Levin's case, she has been before the hearings board, and they remanded it. Basically, said to take it to council and get council to change the ordinance. At that time, she had a map of her yard that she had gone over with an expert in pollinator plants. And to some extent, that in my conversation with Joe, that would suffice for, the Ferndale-like registration. We also talked about how complicated those if there was a registration, how complicated that process would get. And I don't think anybody really wants to have another complicated layer of bureaucracy on top of all this. They want to make it as simple as possible. But having a plan for the property and some sort of clear statement of understanding what's on the property, so that in the cases where it's vacant land or it's an absentee landlord not maintaining it, that seems less likely that they're going to go through that process. It should be sufficient to sorry, I got to say it, to weed those out. But just a thought going forward that if we go with that mechanism, that it has to be sufficient to exclude some of those properties, but ensure that people who are very knowledgeable about their property can benefit from that. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. So are there any particular things that the two sponsors of this resolution want the city attorney to put in or take out, and or would you two, Mr. Bauer, would it be appropriate for the two of them to meet with you in drafting this resolution?
That would be fine. We could have a meeting, or if Councilmember Morgan or Will Coxon wish to send me emails, what my plan would be to work with staff, with Joe and the city manager and so on, and come up with something that should work for council.
Okay, and it's actually Councilmember Jones Chance and Will Coxon, so not Morgan. Okay, if you two would want to follow his suggestions, instructions that he just gave, and to bring back to council a resolution that council can look at, discuss, and make a decision on. Is that okay, Councilmember Wilcoxon?
Works for me.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Okay, Clerk Kalinga, next on the agenda.
Next on the agenda would be Board and Commission nominations. The nomination for the Downtown Development Authority.
Okay, are you going to read it, or?
It's not a resolution, it's just a nomination. So the application is in the packet.
Okay. So this is just a nomination. We vote on it the next time?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so the nomination is for Alex Mers, and it would be a new appointment to the DDA. So please read the resume that's there. Okay. Liaison reports. There's no. I have no report from SimCog. Watts.
So Watts canceled their meeting this past month, and hopefully we'll have a meeting maybe in September, because I know there's some funding things that are going to be coming up. So hopefully I'll have something to report, next month.
All right, thank you. Urban County. Is that you, Joe?
That's you, man.
Okay, well, I have no, it seems that when we were when I was in the meeting with the clerk and city manager, I thought I understood that this was something that Joe followed up on, was Urban County.
I did, and then when you became mayor, you indicated that you would like to attend. I can continue attending if that's what you would like.
Oh, yes, please. I don't recall saying I would. Okay, no, please. Okay. Okay, and the DDA. Christopher.
Hi, everyone. DDA, we have a meeting coming up in a few weeks. Nothing major to report except the completion of the West Cross Alley reconstruction project the next week or so. So looking forward to that, and yeah, plenty on the horizon, but nothing substantial besides that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Council proposed business. Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Andrew has his hand up.
You're about 7 minutes to 10:15 if you want to do an extension, council.
Do we have someone want to move for an extension?
I moved to extend at 10:30.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the meeting will be
I
extended
guess.
to 30. And if we talk fast, we can make it. Councilmember Somerville.
Yeah, I just had a quick question regarding just like, I guess not questions, just like thoughts, just trying to figure out like how we can be most helpful in making sure that like the election and just information run smoothly going into October, because I think like the first 2 weeks in October is going to be really critical in getting information out to voters in terms of like when to return stuff. So like, I guess if like council needs to take any additional action, we did obviously make 2 decisions tonight that will help and will impact the election. I thought of something though during the primary that might be cool, since lots of folks are going to be voting early and dropping off their ballot at the drop box. Maybe we could have like some sort of like I voted background for them to take selfies in front of. I don't know, make it fun. I saw something similar at the Ann Arbor City Clerk's office. So I'm happy to take on the crafting aspect of that, since I am a fan of crafting and elections. And then I just had one follow-up question also regarding a constituent issue. I know that there might be some ongoing litigation. This is more of a thing for Mr. Barr, just to flag for him. If we could get like some sort of update on Mr. Yap situation, that would be helpful. Not necessarily right now, but by email, that would be great. And I think that's all I have. There are a few things that I followed up with staff on before the meeting, so.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Brown.
Well, today is my first day back from vacation, so I'm still clearing a lot of emails, but next time I will absolutely have things that I don't know yet. There are many, many things to read right now.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Wilcoxon. You're muted.
The thing that's occupied my time just kind of went past on the agenda. So I'm really glad that the cross streets repaving is nearing completion. That's going to be a great resolution for people in that neighborhood going through there. One of the side effects of that has been with the detours, people speeding through the neighborhood. And I think everybody, a couple meetings ago, everybody on council complained about this. So I'm looking for creative ways that we can address this citywide. I know that the chief has stated that enforcement by the police is something that is a low priority based on staffing. But looking for other things that can happen. More neighborhood groups are looking at petitions for temporary speed bumps. And that's going to come up, that has a cost associated with those. But if there's a way that we can address this together as a city, I know that everybody here has complained about it at some point or another. So I'd like to have a further discussion of that in the future. So, and I just wanted to do a shout out to Ron Akers for tree maintenance in Normal Park. there was a dead tree that had been there for a while. He took care of that fairly quickly, and is also catching up on tree maintenance throughout the city. So thanks, Ron.
Ooh, can I jump
Thank
in
you.
real quick? Actually, I have one thing to add about trees. Sorry.
Yes, that's okay.
Councilmember Wilcox just reminded me. So, a couple meetings ago, we had the big issue with DTE. And so just wanted to let folks know that they have been out, particularly in Ward 1, trimming trees and trying to, just correct some of the issues that people have been having with power outages in our ward. And I've seen them even driving in yesterday afternoon, they were out trimming trees and have been sending messages out to residents to let them know they'd be in the area.
Right, I got a call today from DTE about that. So they are calling all residents in this area. Okay, thank you for that. Oh gosh, people switched up on me. Okay, Council Member Simmons.
Yeah, thanks. I think I just wanted to piggyback on what Councilmember Somerville said about, how can we support the elections? I think it's going to be a busy one this November, and I did like the selfie idea. I think we also need to look at our drop-off box and how we can make that as secure as possible, because it's going to get more use, and I think if we could just maybe take a look at that, that would be great. And other than that, I don't think I have anything else actually really to add.
Okay, thank you. Council Member Jones-Chance.
Actually, I just wanted to give my condolences to the folks at the tap room. One of the longtime patrons, Lloyd Porter, you might know him as Soul Train, passed away, I believe, last week. He was a Ward 1 resident. I believe he lived at Chittister Place. And I know he was a part of the family there. And if you ever met him and he didn't remember your name, you probably have a nickname. Just one of those examples of how Ypsi is full of all kinds of characters and has character itself. So just wanted to put that out there for the folks at Taproom.
Thank you. I didn't realize he had passed. Council Member Morgan, do you have any?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I only have a few things. The first, I want to say peace to Soul Train. Thanks for sending that message over the airways, Jones Chance. I want to thank all of the Ward 3 constituents who have been sending emails about the noxious weeds and about the police oversight board. So they're very engaged and involved people. We have been getting some emails about a particular rat problem that the city has been facing. Some say it's in Ward 3, but I've been getting emails from different parts of Ward 3 where, and some pictures been on my email list where they've been showing rats caught in traps and different things. So I did speak to the city manager about an abatement program where she gave me some information about some things some other cities are doing. So I'll forward that to the constituents. I was talking with a young woman who was affiliated with the Jewish Family Services named Abby Martin, and she was interested. She was on our last council meeting where we were talking about filling some of the youth commission seats. And I was going back and forth with her because she's identified a group of young people who happen to be refugees that live in the city of Ypsilanti. And but I spoke today with Clerk Kalenga about some of the formalities that are holding commission seats, which may rule them out of that. But just to say that it's young people who are from other countries and other places who live here in Ypsi who wanted to bring a wide range of perspective to some of our commissions and how we do municipal work. So I was definitely looking to be a liaison for that to help get some of these seats filled. And again, I just want to say thanks to our city, our staff who always looks to find the best for these 21,000 citizens who probably knowingly and unknowingly benefit from your work. So that's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Communications from the mayor. Okay, we need, this was also brought forth from the August 18th agenda, and it's the selection of evaluation committee for the city manager and the city clerk. This committee would actually select the form that we would use for the evaluation form, would do the tabulating, and would bring forth the decision of what they the forms showed us. So we need a committee, and generally it is one person from each ward. So do we have some volunteers? Jennifer, Councilmember Simmons.
Oh, thank you. Well, I would like to volunteer as a HR professional, and I already did a lot of work related to this when we were previously going through this. So I would love to be a part of that.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Wilcoxon, that kind of leaves you out.
No, I was going to nominate Jennifer anyway.
Oh,
I
okay.
also just wanted to note that our previous city manager recently was resigned from his post that he took after our lovely city after less than a year. And I'm just going to leave it at
Thank you. I did see that. Yes. Councilmember Brown, your hand is up.
I will volunteer myself as tribute to participate.
Yes.
Okay, I see Councilmember Jones Chance laughing at that.
Unless
or
you want
smiling.
to do it.
I would love to volunteer as well.
Okay, let me get Councilmember Chance. You were smiling at that. Was it something that you had wanted to volunteer for, or?
No, I just thought it was a great job.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. And Councilmember Somerville, you're volunteering also.
Unless Anthony is determined to.
Councilmember Morgan, are you interested in being on the evaluation committee?
Flip a coin.
I am, unless she has a quarter to flip.
Oh, man.
Then I am interested, but unless you're flipping quarters. But
Where were you when we were making these decisions?
no, I'm saying they said one from each one, but you went first,
Yeah.
so.
No, I mean, I don't have strong opinions. You just didn't say anything. So I was just like, I'll do it. So you can do it. I don't have any, I'm not super committed to this. It's great. I'm a fan of both staff members. So.
You are so gracious. You are so absolutely gracious.
They get an A+ from me.
Yeah, I don't know how to feel right now.
In the interest of time,
yeah, really.
we will move on. The committee will be Councilmember Morgan, if I hear correctly, Councilmember Brown, Mayor Pro Tem Brown, and Councilmember Simmons.
This is the same mini grant subcommittee as well. Y'all know that too.
You say what now?
The three of us are also the youth mini grant subcommittee.
Oh, well, we can't have that.
No, we
No.
need, if you three are already forming a committee, we need to do some alterations on that.
Yeah, we're already three.
That needs to be changed.
Anna, you want to come back in?
No, I mean, no, I don't.
Jennifer, would you like to switch with Councilmember Wilcoxon?
Do we have to? I don't understand.
I mean,
I don't want to.
Professional. And that I did a lot of work on this already. So, but if you guys want to start from ground zero, go for it.
No. I'm nominating Jennifer. I'm out of this.
Okay.
I didn't think anything was wrong with it. I was highlighting that it's the same group.
Yeah, that's cool. You guys have a bond.
Yeah, the same trio. That was all. There's nothing wrong with it, in my opinion.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Councilmember Jones Chance? That the three are on another committee? Okay. All right. Well, so it seems like that's settled. Okay. The only other thing that I really have and wanted to merely make mention of is, please do whatever you can in your wards to make sure your constituents are filling out the census. The last report I got, we were just a little bit over 65% returns for the city of Ypsilanti. Our money depends upon that. The money for our residents, the money for affordable housing, money for food stamps, money for Section 8, money for our roads. It all depends upon the census count. So please, I know I've been saying this, and maybe not in this group since January, but I've been talking about this in almost every group that I'm in since January. We've got to really improve our census count. So please, the last day for the census is September the 30th. And I know while you're encouraging people to vote early, please check with them and see if they've completed their census. If you're getting people registered to vote, please check with them and see if they've completed the census at the same time. So, all right, thank you. Communications from the city manager.
Yes, okay, I'll cut mine down in the interest of time. Since we were talking about tree trimming, I wanted to let everyone know that we had a meeting with DTE, our new representative by the name of Molly. I can't remember her last name right now, but DTE has approved doing some more tree trimming in our area. So it should cut out the power outage that we've experienced, particularly on the south side of Ypsilanti. So that's going to be occurring really soon. We'll be posting the tree trimming schedule on the website. So that's good news. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the community policing town hall that it was suggested that we have to get input from the community on what a community policing strategy would look like or should look like, just to get their input. So I have 2 days in mind to talk with the chief of police, and we're looking at the Tuesday, September 22nd and Tuesday, September 29th at 7 o'clock, and these will be Zoom town halls. And I guess that'll be it for now.
All right, thank you. Okay. Communications, it seems like there's none here. Is that correct, Clerk Halinga?
Yes, that's correct. That should have been omitted from the agenda.
All right, now are we still having, while we're on Zoom, are we doing a second audience participation?
No, that was removed once we went to virtual. There's just the one.
Okay. All right. Well, if that's it, then
I move to adjourn.
You beat me before I asked for it. Is there a second?
Oh, it's for lack of second. All right, we'll be here on.
Don't even get a second.
I'll second that, but I do want to mention that census takers will be at 734 every Friday from 1 to 6.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you for
You
that.
can get your folks out.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. Thank
A
you.
second.
It's been second, and meeting's adjourned.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you.
I got to get that background, Steve.
Everybody
Maybe a
stay
different color.
The Aurora Borealis.
Good night, Anthony.
Good night, Jennifer.
Good night,
Bye,
Joe.
Jennifer.
Good night, Chief DeGiusti. Stay safe.
Good night, John Boy.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Take
night,
care.
Anthony. Good night, Andrew.
Good night.